really stop this kind of thing is to arouse public opinion. It's very upsetting. It has a bad moral effect.
Forced adversity.
When I was a kid, it was too much supper. Now it's comic books.
I'll burn them tomorrow.
Bad, B-A-D-D, bothered about Dungeons and Dragons.
Ask yourself, what's more terrifying, fear or the frightened?
I think there ought to be a law against them. Tonight I'm going to show you why.
You know what there ought to be a law against? Me forgetting things that I was supposed to do. Like I had another clip that we just decided right before that I was going to play that first. And then like 30 seconds later, I forgot it. So let me bring on Morgan here to scold me for my failures.
You are scolded. I am declaring war on you. We're going to cancel you with cancel culture.
So, well, you know what? What that means is that we get to play it at the end of the stream. That
sounds good. It'll bring us out. It'll end on a high note, right?
Yeah,
we can start at a high note. We can end on a high note.
Well, we can also start on a high note with something different that I kind of just random. But speaking of Barbie and Oppenheimer, or culturally known as Barbenheimer,
the Barbenheimer,
which, by the way, look, two things. First of all, we stand in solidarity with the WGA and SAG-AFTRA and the strikes in Hollywood. Without which we would have nothing to fucking talk about. This podcast wouldn't exist. All of the fucking channels that you watch, or a lot of them anyway. Gordy, please stop while I'm trying to record, man, or do a stream.
Just think, Gordy wouldn't be able to interrupt these streams without the hard work of SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild.
Yep, wouldn't exist. And the same people that parasitically fucking grift. Is parasitically a word? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It is now.
It is now.
Grift on this content and fucking lie about it and fucking use it for bigotry and to spread misinformation and to fucking recruit into right-wing bullshit. Those same people would not have these jobs. They would not have a paycheck doing what they do if not for these fucking companies. And they are also making content currently that is against those workers. So fuck them. Fuck the studios until they fucking do the right thing. And still fuck them a little bit.
Fuck them afterwards, yeah.
Anyway, but yeah. So in honor of Barbenheimer, the fucking cultural phenomenon that has actually done pretty well for theaters for once. The first time ever broke record of there's never been a 3-day weekend that had one over $100 million movie and one over $50 million movie until now.
Wow, really? So just the Barbenheimer is real.
Mm-hmm. And in honor of such, we probably won't watch the whole thing because it's like a little bit long, but I just wanted to check this out.
We are in a race against the Nazis. And I know what it means if the Nazis have the bomb.
She's a scientist, and I hear she's the best.
Good.
She's also a doctor.
Excellent.
She's also a flight attendant, astronaut, Marine Corps medic, paleontologist, veterinarian, and 3-time Olympic gold medalist.
It's pink.
We see the bright pink glow of a new era. We imagine a future.
Talk about a Mary Sue.
And our imaginings
right?
look fabulous.
Barbie, together we're gonna beat those Nazis. And we're gonna look so good doing it.
Hey Barbie, can I come to your secret laboratory later?
Sure. I don't have any plans. Just giving humanity the means to destroy itself.
Barbie, this candy we've been making is delicious, and it gives my skin such a healthy glow.
Ken? That's weaponized uranium-235. You're probably gonna die in like 12 minutes.
So you're telling me when I push this button, there's a chance we might destroy the entire world?
Yeah, but only like 60%. Hit it, Ken.
Yes.
Oh my god.
All right, we'll end it in the pink mushroom cloud. There's still another minute or so left, but it's amazing. And yeah, it is nightmare fuel, the AI characters. And why is the Matt Damon character looking more like fucking Brad Pitt? I don't know.
I don't know. Because AI can't tell the difference, right? Because AI doesn't recognize faces really well.
Yeah. Hey, we don't know. We don't know if it's Chuds. We don't know. We're going to dig into it. It might be a valid movement. Okay. but
we'll take it apart.
You know, if it's on this show, probably not.
Yeah, I got some bad news. Spoiler alert, God.
We have an agenda. All right, so yeah, hashtag Fire James Gunn is a thing that pops up for some reason still now, and I'm sure some of you know exactly where it comes from, and we'll dig into kind of the oranges, as Trump says, of
God.
it. The oranges of that, as well as just kind of a look at, is there any validity to wanting him to not be the head of DC Films right now? You know, I know that I was pretty. I mean, I think everybody was a little bit shocked whenever it happened, but there was, for me personally, there was a sense of excitement and hope for these movies again for the first time, and I don't know. You know,
I don't know that I've really been hyped for a DC movie. I mean, since I saw Man of Steel and went, well, that happened.
That was about half a good movie, you know?
Right. It's like, yeah, half a good movie and a bunch of moments that are just really, really bad.
Well, baffling. It's like, and that's the kind of thing. We'll get into that, but I've talked about before how like Zack Snyder, I've been an apologist for him up until a certain point, which we'll get to as well. But you know, I've generally liked his movies, except like there's just pretty much every one he makes baffling choices just here and there. There's like a "what are you doing" type choice that it's like he's his own worst enemy. But anyway,
I don't think you're wrong.
So, yeah, let's see. Okay, so we're gonna look at a few different metrics. We're gonna do some comparisons and whatnot. But I think it's important first to go back in time to the era of you know, well, Trump was still a freshly elected, quote unquote, elected president, and the winds of change were in the sails of chuds. They were emboldened, buddy. They were emboldened. They were fucking. You couldn't stop these motherfuckers from just trolling and gloating and shitting all over, shit posting all over the internet. And to the point where, you know, despite all of their cries about cancel culture, they got a guy canceled.
They did.
James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
And we can look into how that started. I actually didn't know exactly the literal person who started it or made it happen until I was reading a book recently. When I talked about that book, Antisocial, that I read. The guy that wrote it, Andrew Marantz, who apparently just won't let anybody post clips on their streams without it being blocked worldwide.
Oh, wow.
It might not be him. It might be, you know, his publisher, whatever the hell.
Or something, yeah.
But, you know, nonetheless, that book was really good. And he spent over a year, I think 2 years almost, you know, kind of like tagging along with certain figures of the alt-right pre-election 2016 as well as post. And you learn a lot from just their own words, the people he's hanging out with. You know, people like, he spent some time with Gavin McInnes. He spent some time with Richard Spencer, spent time with, I forget this one chick's name. And then he spent some time with Mike Chernovich.
Oh, boy. That's a name I know.
Yeah. I mean, most people probably know Mike Chernovich. We can look at who he is, what he's all about. And he is a self-described, as he says in that book, and he's quoted, and he approved all the quotes and everything. So, like, it's not, you know, anything fictional. He's just a troll. And he was an attorney originally.
Was he really? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Because he tries to sell himself as like a blue-collar guy.
No. I mean, pretty much all the guys that try and sell themselves that way aren't.
Right.
So, Mike Chernovich, American right-wing social media personality, political commentator, and conspiracy theorist. Though he initially called himself alt-right, he dissociated from the movement after Richard Spencer became its public face. So he's the kind of guy who he is absolutely probably not morally, ethically against anything Richard Spencer is for, but he's the kind of guy that definitely wants to exist right up to the line of public acceptance within the Overton. You know what I mean?
Right. He will be as fascist as he perceives society will allow him to be.
Yep. That's it. So he became a blogger in the 2000s, focusing on anti-feminist themes He gained notice within the manosphere and made a number of inflammatory comments about dating and sexual assault, including the claim that date rape is liberal fiction. So cool.
So you wanted to hear? I have a fun anecdote about this Yahoo.
Uh-huh.
So do you remember in 2020 during the George Floyd protests?
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that was convinced that Atlanta was getting burned down like Sherman was there, and that all freight trucking had stopped because they didn't want to go into the city and get robbed. And I went, that sounds a little hyperbolic. What's your source for that? And wouldn't you know it, it was this guy.
Well,
fun fact, I believe Atlanta is still there. Didn't burn down.
No, I mean Portland as well, which I live here. It never burned down, despite people telling me that it had throughout that year and a couple times since then. I was down there. I went down there a couple times amidst all this, and I there's a few boarded up windows and spray painted walls and stuff like that, but nothing that those corporations can't fix very easily without any detriment to themselves, because they've got insurance for that kind of thing. Yeah, there's not burned down. It's crazy. It's crazy how the media will frame that stuff, and then these guys especially. But even CNN was framing it in these ways, like because all of the action in Portland generally happened within, like, all the cop fighting and stuff happened within like a 2 or 3 block radius, around the courthouse. And there were a couple of times whenever there was like a dumpster set on fire, or like a couple pieces of wood or whatever. There was some fire. Nothing that burned down. Not a single building burned down. So it's kind of crazy to then go, this Portland is burning down, right? Like, it's kind of crazy.
They don't really have a. They don't realize the sense of skill their hyperbolic language has. That, like, once you think about it, like the city's burning, like, that's. I know they're trying to invoke Nero fiddling or whatever, but it's not. Like, it's just not happening. Yeah.
Man, this guy's got just a long list of controversies on his page. That's because
I'm sure his Wikipedia. His Wikipedia has to be quite the shopping list.
So, I'm trying to look and see what's the best things to cover here, because he's really just kind of the jumping off point,
right?
So he's known for his promotion of fake news, conspiracy theories, and smear campaigns. He helped spread the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, which falsely claimed that John Podesta and other high-ranking Democratic Party officials were involved in a kiddie sex ring. He frequently made false accusations about political opponents of being pedos. So he's really he's one of the. I mean, that's always been kind of a tactic for shitty people of all stripes. But like in the current, fucking epidemic of chuds using that as their go-to, like, he's one of the
kind
first
of a trailblazer. And I think whenever we talk about Pizzagate, we have to remind people that this conspiracy theory was supposedly taking place in a pizza parlor that does not have a basement.
It's in the basement, yeah, but it doesn't have a basement.
It doesn't have a basement because a lot of buildings in DC don't have a basement because it's a swamp.
Well, and because the reason that they believe that is because in some of the WikiLeaks emails of John Podesta, there was something about the annotation CP was used for some reason here and there, which everybody knows the only thing that can possibly mean is child images. So it's because I'm afraid of like saying certain things that'll just get the stream shut down. But so that's the only possible thing that those letters could mean, and that means that you should grab a gun and drive across the country to go do something. And anyway, so he unearthed old tweets by Sam Cedar and James Gunn joking about pedo stuff, and initially succeeded in pressuring to get them fired, but both were reinstated after public outcry. So, addressing that, both I don't know what Sam Cedar's were. I imagine they were nothing good. As I said back then, even though I didn't have a YouTube channel then, but I would say when James Gunn got fired that I will not fucking defend these tweets.
No.
I don't think they're funny. I don't think they're fucking. It's nothing that I would laugh at or think were good if I saw them in the moment. You know, I wasn't on Twitter then, but you know, but at the same time, they're tweets and they're words. The things that these guys are, you know, supposedly defenders of, right? Like,
right.
And if James Gunn still made those types of comments and stuff, I wouldn't be a fan. You know, I would probably think that he's just kind of like, even if he made movies I liked, I'd be like, man, you're just kind of a shitty person to keep doing this. Nonetheless, he was, you know, the history of James Gunn, where he comes from. It's from Trauma. If you guys are familiar with Trauma at all, it's literally shock movies. Like that's the whole thing, is to be shocking and to, you know, get a reaction out of people. And sometimes that's just extremely bad taste. But like the people that actually, because I still see people saying that like, oh, he's a pedo, and it's like, do you think those types of people pedos tweet about it? Are you that fucking stupid to think that they're fucking tweeting about what they're doing, or you know, like, and making like, no, of course not. You got to be like, you're too naive to exist in the world, you know. So
right, if you think those sorts of people are actively tweeting about it or talking about it, no, because most criminals, especially of that variety, aren't stupid enough to just like brag about it.
No, I mean, they're pretty stupid and pretty, you know, immoral and disgusting, but they do have a sense of self-preservation.
Exactly.
So, but I mean, so yeah, if you think that that's something that those types of people do, then
you should have died at birth.
Damn.
Sorry, it is a little bit harsh, but I saw the trailer yesterday for the Invincible season 2, and that line was like, oh shit, I gotta clip that.
Powerful.
Yeah. No, Trauma is not owned by Trauma. Is owned by Trauma.
Yeah, they're independent.
It is an independent thing. President, I guess he's a president. I'm not sure what his role is now, but he was originally started and led by Lloyd Kaufman. He's essentially trying to think of a way to, like, if trolling and being, you know, bad taste for shock's sake hadn't been kind of taken over by the shittiest people on the internet, he you know, I don't know, I'd probably enjoy their stuff more nowadays. But at this point,
right, it's unfortunately some assholes have ruined that sort of humor.
So yeah, and that you're right, Mark. That was one of the reasons that he was targeted.
Yep.
As well as the fact that he was critical of Trump and Republicans broadly, and they can't have that when a guy is that prominent and that well respected. You know, they're gonna try. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, kind of like a straight John Waters would be a decent way to. Yeah, Lloyd Kaufman is Roger Corman, except like doing it with a big wink and laughing at you. While Roger Corman is just, I don't think he understood. Maybe he did. I don't know. He just didn't care as much. I'm not sure.
That's fair.
I'm not going to say that for sure because I'm not super familiar with Corman's attitudes or anything. So, but yeah. Anyway, that's good, Jeffrey. We're not talking about them. Try to stay on. I don't want you getting all negative and negativity spiral on the wrong topic. There you go.
We'll get to those. We'll get to the right topic for those later.
There you go. Yeah, we do need to cover them at some point, huh? Are you saying this in response to Jeffrey?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be an interesting episode because I don't quite hate them. I have very fucking harsh criticisms, but I also don't hate them. So.
I think part of it for me is I didn't see South Park till I was in like college, and I just didn't like it just never was funny to me.
I definitely have a different experience in that, and yeah, I really have problems with them. I've actually kind of like a friendship from middle school kind of ended based on my problems with South Park. So
wow.
I'm definitely willing to stand up against the things that I have a problem with. And that's unfortunate that happened, but like, yeah. Anyway. So Chernovich goes into his early life. He did blogs, blah, 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 blah. So he became notable for his trolling prior to, like, during the run up to the election with Trump. His maxims were conflict is attention and attention is influence.
Right.
And when you fucking consider those two statements and you think about how all of the chuds, whether it's fandom, menace, whatever, this is why I say that it's so important to, if you're going to address these things, you need to be able to do it well. And you need to not just like go, oh, they're mad again. Oh, they're such babies and stuff. It's like, no, that doesn't do anything except make you feel good.
That's what they want.
That's what they want. They want you to talk about the, it doesn't hurt them to just say, oh, they're triggered again. That they don't care. They want that because they believe conflict is attention and attention is influence. Okay. I should make a fucking video about that because it's so important. And I'm not saying I've always been perfect at it. I didn't even fully understand that for a long time doing content. It's only been in the last maybe year and a half that I've really kept that in mind. And tried my best whenever I talk about stuff to have a good analysis that can poke holes in their bullshit. And so yeah, just superficial reacting to it is, you're really just kind of playing in those people's hands. Anyway, he identified himself as alt-right, joined forces with people like Milo Yiannopoulos, who I just seem to believe the exact same thing. Early on, it was Big Tent and included the alt-right Big Tent included any conservative or reactionary who was too belligerently anti-establishment to feel at home in the Republican Party. Now that's just the Republican Party.
Right.
So, congratulations, alt-right. You've mainstreamed yourself.
Well, now the problem is the alt-right is now divided between those on the inside of the party and those on the outside and how they hate each other.
Yep. You don't need to apologize about getting mad. I'm just, I'm trying to keep people on track here. You got people talking about South Park. We ain't talking about South Park today.
Later, I will badmouth South Park later.
I got severe ADHD, and I'm gonna lead all of you ADHD motherfuckers by the nose if I have to. I love you. Right. I love you all. Please like and subscribe.
So, James Gunn, Jimmy Gunn.
Yeah. So
they got him fired.
Yeah, he got him fired. Here, trying to get to that here. So he's pushed Epstein stuff, which Epstein obviously was fucking severe fucking pedo and piece of shit, but there's people that use that to their advantage in a way that's pretty disingenuous, to say the least. So
there were a lot of people who didn't have much to say about Epstein or Weinstein, for that matter, right until they could use it to accuse other people of being associated, whether or not it was true.
So, okay, so just to kind of give a little pre-context. Sorry, I'm just bad about wanting to give all the context I can. In December 2017, Chernovich published a Medium post and contacted several journalists and news outlets about a joke tweet that comedian and MSNBC contributor Sam Seder had written in 2009. He claimed the tweet proved that Sam Seder tacitly endorsed Roman Polanski's sexual abuse crime. For those that aren't aware, Roman Polanski still wanted for essentially some pretty gross, heinous shit, but he's stayed out of the country since then. So,
and he's won Academy Awards since.
Yeah, problematic to say the least. That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of shit that makes it like a little bit harder to push back against the Hollywood's full of pedos claims, because it's like, Academy, what are y'all doing, man? Fucking just stop giving them awards. What are you doing?
Well, I mean, I think that's the peak of Harvey Weinstein's influence.
Mm-hmm.
And those are, those executives, right? Those aren't left-wing people, spoiler alert. Yeah. Not a bunch of lefties.
Well, so Ryan, that is true. There's some cringe stuff in that movie about that, and that, I don't, it's fucking stupid. It's weird that it was even included, but that's not really as bad as some of the stuff that was said here, but the context is also different. Anyway, so yeah, Sam Seder's thing was, don't care about Polanski, but I hope if my daughter is ever great, it is by an older, truly talented man with a sense of mise en scene. And anybody with half a fucking brain, despite as gross as it is to, would understand that is a very, very sharply pointed joke about people that that are essentially do defend him. It's fucking, I don't know. To think that he would actually believe that is weird.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that like text jokes don't always translate real well into jokes, right? Like, because you could deliver that vocally and your inflection and your tone will help get the joke across.
So it was a satiric response to a petition that was urging Polanski's release from detention in Switzerland because of his stature as an artist. So there was a petition of people who were sincerely making that argument. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that was making fun of that. Anyway, so he was fired from MSNBC.
Yep.
Which, honestly, much like with James Gunn, probably the best thing in the world that could have happened in the long run because, he's doing his thing now and God bless him. Sam Cedar, I mean. And then, so in July 2018, this was about a year after Guardians Volume 2.
Yeah.
Filmmaker Mark Duplass faced swift backlash on Twitter for recommending his fellow liberals cross the aisle and follow conservative commentator Ben Shapiro on Twitter. Wow. Filmmaker James Gunn came to Duplass's defense, and Duplass publicly retracted his endorsement, calling it a disaster on many levels. A day later, Chernovich and conspiracy theorist Jack Posobiec unearthed tweets by Gunn in which he joked about pedo stuff and grape. Gunn had been a vocal critic of Trump, and the tweets were widely shared among conservatives and trended nationwide on Twitter. The next day, Gunn issued an apology. Disney called the tweets indefensible and fired James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. After Gunn's firing, Chernovich also unearthed similar tweets. So he's seen success now. This motherfucker he's right. Like he's got the taste of blood. You know what I mean? He's like, okay, we can do this. And then he went on to, find similar tweets from Michael Ian Black and Patton Oswalt, who, those guys are just general stand-up comedians, and they have jobs. I'm sure that I don't think anything came of that, because it became clear if you do it at that rate, you're showing what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Right. And the cards are on the table pretty quickly. Like, oh, now here's a pattern of behavior. You're not doing this because of some ideological push to out pedophiles. You're just trying to burn down people you don't like. Literally cancel. Like, I don't believe in cancel culture, but this is how people who believe in cancel culture would describe cancel culture.
Yep, it's exactly what it is. I mean, it's so much more. I mean, I don't believe in cancel culture, period. I don't believe it's a real thing. I think that it's a false framing that is used by people who, A, want to avoid accountability, or B, want to, essentially have another tool in their toolbox of thought-terminating cliches that's just one of them, because there's no consistency with any of it. The people that they say are canceled, there's often, sometimes it seems like it's a boon to their career.
Oh, I think at this point, pardon my cynicism, I don't think that Dave Chappelle said the things he said and did things like have Elon Musk come on stage out of like some ideological bent. He went, there's a segment of people who will flock to you and give you money if you claim you're canceled.
Yeah.
And so he just had to say a thing that people would go, hey, that's not cool. And then suddenly he's been canceled because people said that wasn't cool. Maybe educate yourself. Mm-hmm. And now he can just, rake in sucker bucks from all these.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very possible, and I wouldn't even bet against that theory. It's kind of like how we talked about the increasing cynicism of using, Senate hearings and legislative hearings to kind of force an adversity.
Right.
It's like, you know, maybe at first it's a kind of natural reaction or whatever, something, but like people eventually start to see the result of that as something you can reproduce.
Right.
So just to finish up with old Chernovich here, we are now transitioning to the topic of the thing. So Disney's decision to fire Gunn was criticized by fans of the series, including myself. I was fucking livid. Hollywood stars and several media outlets. An online petition urging Disney to rehire Gunn received over 400,000 signatures. Fellow Guardians of the Galaxy cast members released a statement expressing their full support for Gunn. You know, a couple of them, I think all of them, had basically said that we won't return for anyone else.
Right.
Definitely, I know Batista was
Dave
fucking...
Batista led the charge on that. Was like, I will break contract with you fuckers.
Yeah. So in March 2019, and I have a theory that this was always the plan, maybe, and that they even maybe might have signaled that to some degree to James Gunn. I don't think that, maybe, you know, there's nothing to base this on really, but it just hard to believe that they, I don't know, you know, that they were just like, oh my God, you're fired for this, as if, you know, there's not a bunch of people working for Disney that have probably got shitty tweets in the past.
Right.
So anyway, in March 2019, not even a year later, Gunn was reinstated by Disney as director of the third film. But prior to being rehired, and maybe this goes against my theory because some things took place in the intervening time.
Right.
Which leads us to the oranges of, I don't know why I'm fucking dedicated.
You are really on that today, bro. You are all about it.
The oranges of today's topic. So prior to being rehired, he was also signed on like immediately. I mean, we think it was within a day or two. I don't remember exactly.
It was like, it was super fast. Like my brain says it was a day or two, but it might have been like a couple of weeks. But they went, oh, that guy's available. Oh, fuck yeah.
And look, let's give him credit because we're definitely going to be criticizing the shit out of him today. But that was a smart move by Warner Brothers.
Oh yeah, no, that's like oh, because I don't think that there's the list of directors that can make these superhero movies as good as James Gunn it's a very short list. He has a mastery of it. Indeed. That to me is almost unrivaled.
He's got. I mean, the you know, people think of him as just the comedy guy, just a funny guy or whatever. But like when you really look at the range of moments and moods and vibes that he has in a single movie, it's fucking astonishing. And the fact that he's willing to, not even, you know, he's actually enjoys committing that to superhero movies.
Yeah.
You know, bless him. Like he probably could be doing anything. But anyway, so reinstated. So he was signed on with Warner Brothers to write and later direct what would eventually become the DC extended universe film, The Suicide Squad. In 2022, he was chosen to lead DC Studios, the retooled film division of DC Comics. So, moving on to that whole deal. So let's just start with The Suicide Squad. It's one of my favorite superhero. Well, I guess maybe not superhero, but like comic book inspired films from Marvel.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
It's something special. I think that it's kind of just peak Gunn in a lot of ways.
Oh, for sure. Can we step back on I sort of want to like roll the timeline back a little bit?
Sure.
Because I think this is sort of important context. I think for a lot of people, saw Batman v Superman and went, well, that was kind of a mess. But like, it has its fans, and I don't think it's a particularly bad movie. And I don't know that it was reviewed like super poorly. Like it was sort of a middling review score. But Suicide Squad came out with Jared Leto and that whole ordeal. And that was kind of a disaster for that. That seemed to be where like the idea of the DCEU sort of started to fall apart for at least me.
Yeah. So I agree, and I do want to address this guy that showed up here. So so the deal is that he didn't fire Henry Cavill. Okay, and I was looking. I know what content you've been watching because I was looking into YouTube content today about this stuff, and there's a very clear narrative by a certain sector of the YouTube, film coverage. That like he didn't fire Henry. It's not like he was like, "You're fired." You know what I mean? And no, it didn't. You're just repeating nonsense. Because the fact is, you're repeating shit that doesn't make any sense because there's no context to it. And if you do it one more fucking time, you're going to get banned from the channel. If you want to sit back and learn something and actually have context applied to the things that you apparently care about, Scott, I'm happy to do that for you. That's what this is about. Because you've very clearly been watching a lot of content that is intentionally not giving you the full context of these things. Okay? So, look, every single movie that Warner Brothers put out in that year was put out simultaneously on HBO Max.
Right.
Of course, that's not going to make the kind of money that the regular movie. Of course, like you'd have to be kind of a fucking moron to think that and expect it to. That's how dishonest the people are that are fucking talking about this in that way. Is they're think you're an idiot. Are you an idiot, Scott? I don't want to believe that you are. I don't know you. I'm not going to assume that you are. But if you continue believing the shit that you're fucking clearly swallowing from these channels, then you're falling for them thinking you're an idiot. So, how could you possibly expect a movie that is released for free, essentially, if you're paying the $10 or whatever for HBO Max a month? Of course.
And there's at the time, especially, there was a lot of like cable packages that bundled in HBO and HBO Max for free and cheap. Or free or cheap. So like, and they were panicked, right? Like every studio was like, well, shit, we don't know how long this is going to last. Yep. These movies have to make some money for us somehow. We'll put them out on streaming and hope that we can recoup some of our costs.
Because Warner Brothers has just kind of almost, it seems like forever, they've been just no matter who the leadership is, they just make unforced errors all the time. And granted, in this case, it did seem like maybe that was the smart thing.
I think it was.
And definitely the reason that they did that is probably shareholders. Shareholders expect money back. Shareholder investors and shareholders, like they expect their investment back within a certain time frame,
right? And
they don't give a shit. So like, yeah, it was a kind of panicked move, but they released every single movie, including Dune. And so
Matrix,
on, Godzilla versus Kong, just every single one. So, and all of those movies, if you frame it that way, lost money, right? However, and we're going to look at the critical score and what critics think of that movie here in a little bit. Spoiler alert: it's very highly reviewed. Okay.
Yeah.
That movie didn't lose them any money. They lost money because of the pandemic, like every other industry in the country did. Just as simple as that. And that they lost money in a specific way because of the fact that they made that choice, whether it was good or not. It didn't end up. There was no possible way it was going to make them the money that they would have made putting in theaters. Just wasn't going to happen. Anyway,
and the same was true of Disney movies at the time and Universal movies at the time, and now everybody was losing money. It was 2020.
Now this fired Henry Cavill thing, and this is the last time I'm going to address anything that should be coming later in the episode. But the fired Henry Cavill thing is not accurate. He just wasn't. His contract wasn't renewed. He wasn't brought back. They didn't decide to keep him because they are generally separating from that era of DC films, and that's simple as that. They brought on a guy to take over from another guy who was leading the charge. They brought on two guys technically. Of course, James Gunn gets all the hate. So they bring we're gonna look. This whole episode is about why, essentially.
Yep.
Because once we start looking at the numbers, you want to talk about numbers. There's a very clear reason why James Gunn was chosen to do this and why Zack Snyder was not, given the keys were taken from Zack Snyder, so to speak.
And they were taken from Zack Snyder well before they had brought James Gunn on officially.
To expect that they were going to just maintain the same guys is, I don't know. It's weird. Like no actor has is owed to be in a movie, especially whenever let's be honest, every single movie, and look, I fucking like Henry Cavill. I think he was, honestly, probably the best Superman potentially. The same way that Ben Affleck could have been the best Batman potentially. The potential was there. The opportunities were squandered.
Henry Cavill is really good in other things. I've just never bought his Superman.
I did. I thought he was a great Superman. Just like, except like disconnected because of the material he's working with, right?
Yeah, it just I think because of the script and the story, it just never connected for me. Where like he's in like a movie remake of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And I'm like, this is a shitty, cheesy movie, and he's fucking great in it. Yep. And he's the bad guy in one of the Mission Impossible movies, and he's really cool in that. And like, but just for whatever reason, like, yeah.
I'm seeing some great comments, so I'm gonna go ahead, instead of responding to them like I like to do impulsively, I'm gonna star them, save them for later in the stream, and we'll respond to them.
Yay.
But yeah, so we can continue on here. All right. So I didn't even have the link open yet that I'm supposed to go to because I got distracted by the old dude.
Well, he's on timeout now.
By the way, if you're watching and you're watching because you are a big Zack Snyder fan and you're anti James Gunn, whatever, you're welcome here. I'm not like going to tell you shouldn't be here or anything. You're welcome. But around these parts, we don't just regurgitate narratives that we've gotten from YouTube. I know it's weird. We look at a broad assortment of sources. We double check facts. We think about things critically, rationally, and we try to check our bias, right? Because if the situation was that I hated James Gunn just because I hated all his movies or whatever, I would still tell you the same things that I'm telling you about the reasons why he was hired. It just so happens that I also like James Gunn's movies. Anyway, so yeah, as you were saying, actually, so and this does address a comment a minute ago, is that Suicide Squad 2016 was a resounding shit show. It was just a mess, much like Batman versus Superman, much like Justice League, much like they just mess after mess after mess. Okay. Well, please do. You don't need to announce your departure. It's not a fucking airport, all right? You can have a fucking, Okay, nobody cares, dude. Nobody fucking cares. So I put you in a timeout, and when that timeout is over, I shouldn't hear from you again because you said you were leaving. Right? I mean, Otherwise you're just here to fucking throw a tantrum and bitch fit because somebody's saying things you disagree with.
Well,
and I don't.
Also, I hid him from the channel. He is banished to the Shadow Realm.
Nice.
Bye.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, you were being more. I was actually gonna, kind of do a.
Fuck him.
Yeah, you're right. Good call.
I'll be bad cop today. It's fine. Fuck him.
I mean, just generally, I don't tend to find much value from people who use the letter U instead of the word you. That's just a kind of a thing I've noticed.
That's fair.
So, yeah, Suicide Squad was a mess. There were some things in it, mainly Margot Robbie, that worked pretty well. But once again, like, thankfully, she had an opportunity to work with good material after that. Because otherwise it would have just been the same kind of thing as Cavill and Affleck, where it's like, okay, I definitely see why this person was cast and they got it, but this material is not it. Right? Like, yeah. So, yeah, Suicide Squad had
it beat Deadpool, the first Deadpool, for costuming, and it was just like, fucking really?
What else was there 2016 that I remember thinking it's absurd that Star Trek Beyond?
It didn't get anything.
No, you think about like the alien, the chick with the claw head thing that opens up and they hide the thing in her head, and then there's all
the aliens, the several iterations of Idris Elba, like, oh gods,
good stuff. It should have been nominated, but
it should have been. It should have won. I fucking love that movie. Anyways, I'm gonna just get off my soapbox. Ooh, vapors. All right.
Anyways, so yeah, the fact that DC movies had just one after the other Kind of a shit show. And even still, each entry I was hoping would be the one that did it. And I even found excuses at first for Suicide Squad. I would be like, it's not, it's not great, but it's not terrible or whatever. And like it really kind of is. It's a mess.
I have a fun story about seeing Suicide Squad. So, because it came out in like winter, right? Am I thinking of this, or was this Batman and Superman?
Batman and Superman came out in the summer.
Okay, so I think Suicide
came out later that year, I think, or in the fall or winter, maybe.
All right, I want to see when this came out, because one of these movies I had to like go out of my way to see, and then I was just like, "That's it." That I wasted. I took a day off of work for this. So I typed in Suicide Squad into Google, and the first thing it gave me was the Suicide Squad.
Well, probably because it's just the better. Even Google knows.
Even Google knows. It came out in August.
Okay, so post-production of Suicide Squad. The film had a troubled post-production. Editor John Gilroy left the project in early 2016, leading to Charles Roven recommending Lee Smith to David Ayer to take a slightly different approach, but not totally change the tone of the movie with his work. Smith created Ayer's final picture-locked approach, or picture-locked director's cut, based on Gilroy's assemblies, and remains credited as an editor of the final film. But this is where things went stupid. Okay, so the reason that Suicide Squad was greenlit in the first place was because, the same reason that Justice League and everything was, because Marvel was having success.
Right.
And so Warner Brothers looks at what Marvel's doing and go, okay, so people like Guardians of the Galaxy. That's, it's kind of whimsical, a little bit oddball, weirdo, found family kind of movie. And they also like Deadpool, which is, similar things. So those are the two movies I think that generally, Deadpool had been greenlit rather at that point. So like that, I think that inspired them to make Suicide Squad how they, I guess, originally wanted to. I'm not sure. But whatever the movie was, which, by all accounts, and you can kind of tell by watching, it was darker. It was generally less jokes, less, a little bit more probably Snydery to a degree.
Right.
But then the trailer, they happened to drop a trailer with Bohemian Rhapsody as the song playing. Very good trailer.
It's a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody too.
True. But the trailer is very good. I remember seeing it and thinking, fuck yeah, I had no interest in this really before, but this looks fucking great. Right. And I was all against it kind of because of the Jared Leto makeup that they decided to go with.
So bad.
So yeah, I was excited, and apparently everybody else was too. And the reception to that trailer got Warner Brothers to do what they always do is a fucking knee-jerk reaction.
Mm-hmm.
They fucking got scared that the movie that was going to come out was not going to be what people were expecting, and it probably wasn't going to be based on that trailer. And they hired the company that cut that trailer together to do another pass at the edit.
Right.
Which is there's not the same people that cut trailers. They're not the same people that cut movies, right? It's just two different kind of vibes, and that's why trailers can often be a little bit off the mark from the movie that you see. But yeah, so it was a trailer house company, and they cut a movie together. That's why when you get the things like the title cards, the character cards in the beginning, and the 5 minutes of intro, you know what I mean? It just like before the movie
takes 9 years to start.
Yep. And and if it was done in a better way, that could have been like, for instance, how James Gunn did it in the Suicide Squad, where he intercut the introductions of the characters, and he even had the text on screen and all that stuff with actual story happening.
Right.
And you're getting to know the characters rather than having to read what they're about in little tiny, stylized text on screen.
Do you know what's a great movie that has like really great intro to its characters? The George Clooney Ocean's 11.
It's been a long time since I watched it, but yeah.
I fucking love that movie.
So, yeah. It's that's what happened with that. So that, and look, let's be honest about the main problem with the DCEU or whatever, as people have pointed out in chat already. They were, and this is the most obvious thing that anybody that's paid half attention to it could say that this is the problem, and they're right. They rushed it. They saw Avengers 2012 hit, made $1 billion, and they go, holy shit, we got to do a fucking cinematic universe like tomorrow. And in 2013, they had that Comic-Con appearance where they said Ben Affleck is Batman. You know what I mean? And here's Wonder Woman and blah blah. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do Flashpoint.
They announced they announced Flashpoint before they have Justice League out. Like, oh, we're gonna reboot it too. Fucking what?
Yeah. So they just had all these plans, right? And keep in mind that Black Adam, I think, had already been announced before all this.
Black Adam was like something that The Rock was trying to get made for like over a decade.
Long time. But yeah, so even then it felt a little weird. I was excited. I was like, wow, they're really committing. But at the same time, it's like, based on what? The only movie you have out is Man of Steel. And that kind of, I was more of an apologist for it years ago than I am now. I did used to say it's a good movie. You just misunderstood. It's not going to defend that now. But it still, one movie that best being as charitable as possible, it was okay.
Yeah.
That's as charitable as possible. And then you're going to go ahead and based on that, do all this. And it's like, that's not the right way to go, man.
So I have my Monday morning quarterback take on that. If you wanted to do a Justice League movie, if you wanted to if you see Avengers makes $1 billion and you go, well, shit, we need to do that. Instead of rushing to do all of these build-up movies, you know what you could have just done? Do a goddamn Justice League movie.
Right.
Just
well, I mean,
start there.
If I'm being charitable again and giving what I think their idea was, I kind of get the logic, even though obviously it's wrong. But okay, so you want to do what Marvel's doing, but you don't want to look like you're aping their approach. Right? So and that's the thing, is that they were basically, there's almost no chance that Justice League and the DCU was ever going to accomplish much without being compared negatively to Marvel, no matter what. And the reason I say that is because if I describe a movie where a bunch of very disparate superheroes with varied backgrounds, they come together and they kind of clash. They take a minute to get to be able to work together, but eventually they work together to repel the alien invasion, and become this new super team that's respected and blah blah blah. Which movie am I talking about?
Right.
So there's just, because you have to, that has to be the plot of the Avengers. It has to be the plot of Justice League almost. I mean, there's almost has to be by nature of properties, right?
And I don't think it does.
Well, okay. No, you're right. There's probably argument for that not being. But yeah.
Okay, so to use a bad movie, what the hell? Now my brain just died and I can't remember the name of it. What is the name of the superhero movie from the early 2000s, late 90s, and it's a super team? Mystery Men, right? I don't think there's a coming together story in there.
No, but I think that you kind of do need, I think that those, well, okay, let's look at it from a capitalist perspective. Dun dun dun. You want people to get into each one of these characters so that you have maximum revenue streams.
I think The Dark Knight is what, 6 years old at the point in the timeline we're talking about?
The Dark Knight Rises is a year old.
Right. So everyone still knows who Batman is. We just had a Superman movie, and both of them made good money, especially the Batman movies. You put Batman up there, people will go see that. I don't know. I think that their whole we have to try and rush to the Justice League with all of these build-up movies distracted from making a coherent Justice League movie, which they could have just done in the first place.
Yeah. Okay. It's fair enough. But I mean, so, I mean, you want to have, I don't know. We could get in the weeds on that.
We can get into the weeds. Yeah. We can go back and
Point
forth on
being,
this forever.
the broad strokes, it's very easy to see these movies as like, even though you and I know that most, if not all of the characters that they used in, well, maybe not Cyborg, in Justice League existed prior to any of the characters in, Marvel movies.
Right.
Darkseid existed before Thanos, so on
Right.
and so forth. But because Marvel got there first, there were always going to be, an uphill battle at distinguishing itself while not aping its exact approach, and also not betraying the roots of the thing in the first place. Right? That's like such a fucking fine line to walk. And Warner Brothers was not up to the task.
No.
But I do understand the kind of inverse approach of saying, okay, so they got Feige in charge of all this stuff, and he's not a filmmaker in the sense like he's not a director, he's not an artist, he's a producer.
He's a producer, yeah.
He knows this content, and he knows he's they have their style set, they have their thing that they're doing, right? We're going to kind of do the inverse. We're going to get this one guy who's got a very distinct, type of approach to filmmaking, and he's going to set the tone. He's going to cast. He's going to, set the tone. It's like,
right.
I kind of get that. It's just that they chose the wrong guy. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then they also took the inverse approach. I think this is being charitable. Remember, with Batman versus Superman, I think rather than doing a build-up, they wanted to do an explode outward.
Right.
Right. So that's what they. But you don't do it where you first see these characters in emails. They're in email attachments in Batman versus Superman.
Right.
But that's not the way to introduce them, man.
No.
And so, but I can see a world where that could have been something that worked, where they're like, you introduce these characters, not that way, but, give them moments here and there, introduce them. And then from there, you get their solo movies and you kind of learn more about them and stuff. That could work. I mean, Marvel essentially kind of does it now. Once they got to did the build-up thing, the linear thing, then they started kind of exploding outward for where like you get, different characters that then get a solo movie later on or whatever. But nonetheless,
or a TV show or what have you.
Yep. So it didn't work. Batman vs Superman. Well, let's get into the numbers. So we're looking at literally the website, the numbers. Oh no, actually, yeah, we'll do that. I think so. All right, so Zack Snyder was chosen because he had a relative success with Watchmen.
Yeah.
Nobody expected that movie to be possible for a long time. It went through so many different directors, writers, and it just like it had been deemed unfilmable by Terry Gilliam. Not in any way that would have like held on to basically everything in the story. Zack Snyder found a way to literally hold on to everything pretty much that happens in the story. He kind of got it all wrong, like as far as like why we care about this. Watchmen originally was the book is about the fact that if these
it deconstructs it, yeah,
it's a deconstruction. If these characters were real, if superheroes were real, they would be very flawed to say the least, and they would not always have our best interests in mind, if ever. And they would probably fucking destroy the world. Anyway, but Zack Snyder said, yeah, but what if we did that, but we're like, look how cool this is. So you get like slow motion action scenes where it's like really cool looking Night Owls breaking arms and shit. And there's some really cool looking action scenes. I'll give it that.
It's a cool movie, but it's not always a good movie.
No. Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is the old age makeup. Like, just get a different actor.
Yeah, just maybe don't do that.
Anyways, but I did like Watchmen when it came out. I still will. I can appreciate certain things about it as I've gotten older and I understand what Watchmen originally is. What Alan Moore intended behind it. By it, I definitely grow less fond of the movie. But still, nonetheless, it didn't do super great. but it still did better than I think most people expected, and it had a lot of fans. That's the main thing. Is a lot of fans were happy with it. So whenever it came time, they said, "This guy, he can do it. He can basically, if he can do Watchmen, he can do anything." So let's look at Man of Steel box office. So Man of Steel, oh shit. I wish I could see okay. Domestic box office for Man of Steel. $291,045,518. It's not great.
That's not.
It's pretty okay, like considering, I don't know. I don't know what I would have expected for a Superman movie, but not the best.
Well, see, I think Superman has for a long time, and by a long time I mean probably 20, 30 years, been the less popular of the two, especially outside of comics fandom. I think like the era of like a popular multimedia Superman would have been like the gods, I can't think of the actor's name. I'm just blanking.
Lex, this is literally what the stream is about. So just chill out, and we're gonna get these answers. Let's try and stay on topic, if you don't mind.
Yep, we'll get there. Christopher Reeves, the Christopher Reeves Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's sort of the last time that Superman was like really popular compared to like Batman.
And since then, it had kind of become the prevailing theory, however accurate or not, that Superman was a hard character to adapt into a film because, for a couple of reasons. One, he's too pure, and like basically he's too good, and it's hard he has no flaws, right? So it's hard to, well, then Marvel figured it out with Captain America: The Winter Soldier. You instead of changing the character, you make the world around him be against everything he stands for, and then justify why he exists in the first place. It's almost like it's set up to do that.
I mean, they literally did an animated movie about that, and it's based on a limited run, and I can't remember the name of the limited run is, but the animated adaptation was Superman versus the Elite, and it's about this team of grim anti-heroes that starts murdering criminals and stuff, and Superman has to like put a stop to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a really good story.
Well, so worldwide box office, which I guess we'll probably just stick to that for the most part going forward, but worldwide box office, $667 million, just shy of $668 million. And that's, it's really not a flop. The main problem with Man of Steel was the kind of divided response to it. You want people to be excited about Superman. You don't want people to be, kind of questioning if this is a good take on Superman, right? Like with anything. But like, I remember prior to that, whenever Avengers, or maybe before Avengers hit big, there was kind of this news that came out that Warner Brothers was looking for essentially out of left field takes on the DC heroes for pitches for the movies. So they were looking for something that was going to not be what people expected as far as these heroes go. And in that way, you may wonder, like, why would they even greenlight this stuff in the first place? Well, that's why. Because they didn't want to do exactly what the comics were. They wanted to kind of bring a take to these characters that made people go, oh shit, this is a new version or whatever. That's fine, you can do that, but like when it's at the expense of like the core things about that character, it's not great.
No, I think that some bean counter somewhere overestimated the word of mouth hype that like, oh, this is going to be a new take on, X character, when outside of those, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman a little bit. I mean, this is the era where the Green Lantern movie had just come out and was really fucking bad.
Yeah.
Like, No
Yeah,
one knows who the Flash is, so whatever take on the Flash you have is going to be fine.
So the as Max says here, yeah, that was another thing is Christopher Nolan's fingerprints are all over Man of Steel, and I think
Yes,
all
they
of
are.
the parts that are good about it are Christopher Nolan. I think, you know,
I would be curious to see to flag them, right, and see whose idea was whose. Because there are some things about how Nolan does superheroes that I don't like. And those are some of the problems I had with Man of Steel. So
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, you
to
know,
defend Zack Snyder for a second.
Fair. Okay, so Lex, so yesterday I let you do this, but what I'm not gonna I don't think it's a good idea to let you continue to everything that you commented for most of the stream the other day was questioning people in chat about things that aren't really. It's almost like you're starting fights, and I know that maybe you don't mean that, but that's not what this chat should be about. We're trying to engage with the topic that we're talking about. If you disagree with something somebody says, that's okay. You can live with it. You know, you don't have to understand why everybody thinks something different than you. You know, but I think it's disruptive and not how we tend to have conversations around here, to just constantly question everybody's comments.
Is there still a Discord link lying around?
Yes. Yeah, I can do a Discord.
So, if you want to have some of these conversations, Lex, and have, some questions like that, the Discord is a perfect place for that.
Yeah, as long as you are,
respectful.
Cool about it. Yeah. Let me get that link. All right. So here we go. Dropping a link in chat. You're welcome to join. And this is where we'll have, you can have conversations that aren't, disruptive to the conversation we're trying to have right now. And I do want feedback on this. If you have opinions on this, I'd love to hear them. I'm saving a lot of them for later, but
yeah, we've got a list of people's takes already that we're going to go over later on, but we're trying to keep the narrative flowing.
Yep. Saving that one. Yeah. Thank you for being direct with that, Jeffrey. Moving on. So Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. Now, when the trailer for that dropped, I was fucking hyped. That was a good trailer. It was very good.
I don't remember the trailer for it.
It's so fucking good because, you don't get the full... it's very dark and moody, but, you didn't expect the whole movie to be that way, I guess. You expected to get more time with Superman doing cool Superman stuff and Batman being Batman that you're familiar with, because keep in mind, we had not been introduced to this Batman yet,
right?
Which is a
New
big
Batman.
problem. Big problem. Yeah, did you just ride a motorcycle?
No, that's someone right. Yeah, I am podcasting while riding a motorcycle. How cool would that be?
The Marthaverse, right?
Yeah, into the Marthaverse.
Into the Marthaverse. So the trailer came out that Comic-Con. I was hyped. The moment when Superman lands next to the Batmobile and rips the fucking roof off of it, and then Batman stands up and they're just facing off. It's like, holy shit. And obviously the whole thing was always going to be that they maybe they fight for whatever reason, but you kind of assumed it would be for a valid reason,
right?
But it wasn't.
It was not.
And I do think that some of this has to do with Warner Brothers and not just Zack Snyder, because if you look at the things that they adapted into that movie, you've got the death of Superman, you've got
Death in the Family,
Dark Knight Returns.
Yep.
You've got what else was there? I mean, just all of them are the most popular, the best-selling DC books. Period.
Right.
They're all of it is the top 5 or 3 or however many in there. They're all the top-selling ones, and that's why I think Warner Brothers was like, yeah, but write this stuff in there.
Make sure all of this gets in there. So, you just connected in my brain now. You've connected 2 wires of this sort of look at these cool things you remember from other things. It's like the dark version of Force Awakens. Where like every cool thing is just a thing it took from something else and just kind of mooshes them together in a ball of nostalgia.
Right. But the thing is,
I think Force Awakens is a better movie, but
oh yeah, I mean the thing is, each one of those movies has a different theme,
right,
and point to existing, and like this basically didn't care about that, much like Watchmen, how Watchmen just kind of abandoned the underlying theme of the story. This takes the things that happen,
right,
and then removes the context and the subtext or whatever, and it says let's just smash them together. And yeah, that being said, I once again, playing devil's advocate, steel manning it, I can see what the goal was with, like, okay, you got Batman and he is off his rocker. This is not the Batman that we are familiar with, that we just knew from like 3 years ago.
Right, yeah, we've got a Batman like we just got off of the Nolan Batmans, and now we have old man Batman, right? Like,
right,
because Ben Affleck is not a young guy at this point.
No, but I will stand by my opinion that I think he could have been one of the better. I still haven't seen The Flash though, so I mean, maybe he's good in that for however long he's in it. But
I don't really intend to see The Flash, though.
I liked his Bruce Wayne. The few moments when he's Bruce Wayne, he's got that smarmy kind of thing that works well for Bruce Wayne, I think. And then he looked good in the suit, man. I'll say that. Like he was, he filled it out. We had a big burly Batman. Like, cool, I'm all for it. However, and I would even defend him killing people if we had spent any time with the Batman as we know him prior to it.
Right.
And I know that seems kind of like a weird take, but like the whole point of having him so violent and just like, I don't give a fuck and I'm going to kill Superman is because he's kind of lost it.
Right.
Right. And that could have worked really well because the whole point, obviously the thing was that eventually he was going to realize the error of his ways and be inspired by Superman and become, more like the Batman again that we know, or you know what I mean? Like that's actually a good idea, I think. And there's a world where that could work, but
also is a twist on the Dark Knight Returns where like Superman comes to put Batman back in line, and Batman's got to be like, no, man, you're just fighting for Ronald Reagan. What the fuck?
Yeah.
You've lost your way. And that would have been an interesting flippy floppy on that.
In Dark Knight Returns, though, you kind of understand why he's doing what he's doing.
Right.
There's these fucking mutants that are like, taking over Gotham and fucking everything up. And it's like, okay, he's kind of let things go on too long, and he needs to maybe take some bold action and get things, and Joker's fucking free and doing crazy shit again. Yeah, you kind of get it. With this, it's like basically he watched Superman accidentally get thrown through one of his buildings and goes, "That's it. This motherfucker's cost me money."
Right, like capitalism's really hard. Oh boy,
it's true. Yeah,
he gets very mad on behalf of his insurance guy, and like. Okay, so like this is Bruce Wayne in a world where Bruce Wayne is Batman. He's got supervillain insurance on his buildings, right? That's on his coverage plan.
Well, it's being reductive to say it's about the building and the insurance. I was joking, but like, I mean, they do have he's talking to his guy that manages the building or whatever, and he dies literally on the phone with them. And like, I understand. Actually, that whole opening sequence is fucking cool.
It is.
It's really good. That's what sold me on Ben Affleck. When I remember they put that out early, I think that opening scene, I was like, okay. And it could have potentially worked. It really could have, but they just didn't. It didn't justify it. They didn't justify it. And like him, being so aggressively murderous is kind of the problem. It's like I can understand writing a Batman that is not giving a fuck enough that he maybe is letting some villains die in his wake or something, but no, he's like shooting cars full of bad guys and then running it over, and like 3 dudes just died like that right then, and he didn't give a fuck. And then he's branding people with the bat symbol, and when they go to
beaten up in prison,
they're getting killed.
Yeah,
if you get the bat brand, you're murdered in prison, and he knows that, and he's just. Now that being said, there is in the director's cut, the ultimate cut, there is more context to that subplot that kind of well, mainly the main thing that's missing that's in that the director's cut thing is more time with Clark, and that's good.
Okay, yeah.
To see Clark, he's doing journalism stuff. He's going around. He's investigating Batman. You see Clark being Clark, and it's like that kind of is definitely needed in this version of fucking Superman.
It really is.
Anyway, so let's not stay on this mess. That's a whole man. There's just
it's a movie you can take apart because I think you're right. There are good bits in it, but just like you can feel the hands of the executives all over it,
which is a problem with a lot of DC movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Going back to and I've thought about making a video kind of chronicling all this at some point, but like going back to, I mean, I think the first time that I really think that this became a real problem was you had Batman 1989, did really well. Mm-hmm. Everybody loved it, Then so they say, okay, Tim Burton, here, do the sequel. Just here's blank check. Do whatever you want to do with this sequel, and he did, and it's got some stuff in it.
It's a bit out there.
It's dark. It's weird. It's Tim Burton, like kind of at his peak in some ways.
It's a movie I hated when I was younger, and I enjoy it now.
I loved it when I was younger, and I went through a phase of hating it, and now I think it's just kind of a fun.
Yeah,
I have a list of anti-Christmas movies that I like, because I don't like Christmas movies, but I like anti-Christmas movies, and so that's one of them. It's an anti-Christmas movie. Just stuff that takes place around Christmas, has to do with Christmas, but is very against the spirit of the quote-unquote spirit of Christmas.
Well, that's like why people say Die Hard is a Christmas movie, right? Because they want to watch an action movie on fucking Christmas.
Yep.
And, I don't want to watch fucking A Christmas Story for the... Anyways.
And let's be clear. Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie.
Period. Not just because it has Christmas in it, but the themes are there. The theme of Christmas is actually there and done well, and it's not even... Yeah, anyway. This isn't a Die Hard stream. What are we doing?
Welcome to the Die Hard cast.
So, from there was a problem. It meant to finish up the Batman Returns thing. So parents got kind of upset back then, because Batman Returns had more licensing than anything ever had prior to that, except for maybe Star Wars.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. You had the infamous little cups from, I think, McDonald's or whatever. You had everything. You had 50 different versions of Batman and different suits with different functions or whatever. And it was fucking everywhere. It was a money machine. And when you have a movie that's clearly targeted at kids, and you got like a sexy cat lady who's taking up half of the movie, and then a gross little, Danny DeVito in a fat penguin suit biting people's noses off and eating raw fish and shit. Mm-hmm. And then Batman is like barely in the movie.
He just kind of hangs out, yeah.
And let's keep in mind too, Batman totally fucking murders dudes in that movie.
Oh, for sure. Batman murders people in Batman 89 too.
The infamous meme face where he's like he's doing that creepy smile.
Yeah.
That is from the moment that he attaches a bomb. Now it's not his bomb, but the guy had the bomb. Right. He attaches it to his belt and then like drops him in a hole and then smiles as it explodes.
Right.
It's not very Batman-y. Anyway, but from that, Warner Brothers said, oh shit, parents are mad. Sorry, Tim Burton, fuck off. Joel Schumacher. And it went in such a different direction tonally and everything that I used to love Batman Forever too when I was a kid. I thought it was great.
I will say this about Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. They look like the actual like world looks really fucking crazy and cool. Mm-hmm. Like just from like a visual standpoint, it's a really cool movie to watch on mute.
And I mean, and let's not lump them completely together, because I do think Batman Forever has a far more saving graces than Batman and Robin does.
True. True.
Oh yeah. Where were the other drugs going?
Why did you use Jordan Peterson for that?
Have you seen those?
No.
Great. Oh man. Yeah, it's just like how Batman chooses his voice will forever be one of my favorite fucking videos on YouTube. It's just like, Donde está la biblioteca? And it's just like he's trying to find his voice. It's the scene from Batman Begins when he grabs the guy and he's hanging him upside down, and he's like, "Where were the other trucks going?" But when he starts out, he's like, "Where were the other trucks going?" And he's like, "Why are you talking like that?" And he's like, "Well, I'm doing a high pitched bat." He's like, "No, man, that doesn't work at all." And then he's like, he said, "Well, do you mind if I try a few?" It's like, "Sure." It's pretty fucking funny. Maybe I'll.
See, I know the Harvey Dent "Can He Be Trusted" thing.
Yeah,
that one
okay.
I know because I had a friend who was like, that was his ADHD special interest for a whole month and change.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick. So, you know what? I'm going to play the thing we were going to play at the end, and then I'm going to grab the other thing that we were just talking about, play that at the end. So,
all right.
We'll be right back. This is about a minute and a half or so.
Have some fun. See you soon.
Happy Harry.
Oh no, Adrian! Looks like the Reds are polluting the city lake! What do we do?
We call the Watchmen! Strong together, united forever, they're the best of friends. But when trouble's about, you'd best watch out for the Watchmen.
Now is their leader, and he loves to party down. Rorschach's runs to the animals.
Yeah, when he's not clowning around.
Why nutty?
Beat up some thugs, say no to drugs, be in bed by 10. But if trouble's about, you'd best watch out for the Watchmen.
Spectre's a sensation, you should really never miss her. The comedian's your biggest fan now.
If I could only get that kiss.
OCM, your bestest, couple of crime solving superstars. John can give you cancer, and they'll turn into a car.
Strong together, united forever, come and meet your friends. Have no fear, time's up, time's here, for the Watchmen.
Watch out.
Good times. Oh man, the jokes in there. There's plenty of
There's so many jokes.
If I could only get that kiss. That's yeah. And then I love how Ozymandias saves him at the end.
Right, saves him from falling off the thing. Yeah.
Like, what, didn't you just throw him? Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Enough shenanigans, guys. You're shenanigan all over the place here.
I will shenanigans. Shenanigans will continue until morale improves.
So, yeah. Moving on. We got to get on with this. So, look. Let's just not bury the lead here. The people that are behind the Fire James Gunn thing. The reason it's on this podcast. Surprise! This is a crossover episode. It's also kind of, I guess we would look at it as a throwback to the original Forced Adversity because it's the same people.
Is this our Crisis on Two Earths?
It really is. Yeah, we're is the Crisis episode.
Is the sky red? It kind of is here. So actually, yeah, we're having a Crisis episode.
So yeah, if you search for where's it at? You search for hashtag or Fire James Gunn on YouTube, you're gonna see some frequent players that we see on this channel. Oh, look at that. They want him gone. Hashtag Fire James Gunn. Oh, it's trending, huh? After he blames fans over DC reboot backlash. I'm quite certain that's not what happened. I'm not even going to double check because that's just not what happened. The destruction of the DC brand. So Gunn and Zavslav have destroyed the DC brand. That's funny because they haven't put out a movie since James Gunn that James Gunn is responsible for.
Right.
And I'm willing to bet, and there's no way to prove there's anything, but if James Gunn had 100% control, he probably wouldn't have released The Flash.
No.
But he doesn't. There are shareholders that had already invested in that. Their investors already invested in that movie, and it had to be released essentially. Whereas Batgirl, they can shelf that because I doubt that had anybody substantially invested in it in the way that because it was going to be a streaming thing. Not to say that Batgirl doesn't have interest to where it shouldn't have investors. Anyway.
Yeah, that.
The Flash has been a thing that they had put stock into for a long time. They've been through dozens of fucking directors and writers and
Right. There
so
was
on.
a lot of sunk cost fallacy when it came to the Flash.
Indeed. And in fact, I found a green screen from the movie the other day. Spoiler alert for the Flash movie, I guess. But I made a little mashup. If you watched Friday night, you saw this at the beginning of the stream.
Oh.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Oh my gosh.
So he literally puts a baby in a microwave in the movie.
What the actual fuck is going on?
Okay, so in its defense, I guess, what is happening at the moment in that movie is that the building is collapsing and he is doing his Flash, everything's slow around him. He's moving regular speed, but everything's super slow around him. And in order to, I guess, protect the baby as everything's falling, because he's got to catch a bunch of other babies and people too, he puts it inside the microwave. And
What is this movie?
Maybe it's because of the meta context of Ezra Miller that just seeing that is extra disturbing. Because it's like, oh no, Ezra, don't. I mean, the Flash. The scream is from a video that I found, just of a guy screaming in Batman mask. Anyway.
Oh my god, it's just.
Okay, so thank you. He puts it in the microwave to avoid a big shoot of flame from charcoaling it. I mean, that's fair. That's a reasonable response in the context of what's happening.
Of the movie.
Just out of context, it's a little weird.
It's a lot of weird.
Because actually there are instances of terrible parents who have done that in real life, except to actually turn the thing on.
Right.
That's happened. So sorry to be a bummer, but anyway, all right, let's not start fan imprisoning. You love to fan imprison people, Jeffrey. You're like, why aren't this person in prison? I mean, for what? And that's what I always ask you, because you're like, why isn't Geeks and Gamers in prison? For what?
They've done some stuff. If they weren't
They
rich,
definitely could have done some stuff worth prison. Yes. So.
Yeah, they actually may have done that. But whatever. We're not here to talk about Ezra. They're their own problem.
So you can see here who the people are. Some familiar names, faces. You got, I don't know who that is. Geeking with James Hancock, by the way. That's just here randomly, but that's a good channel. If you guys don't know who he is, he does good reviews, just straight.
I do not know who that is, so I will have
cool
to
guy.
check him out later.
Just loves all the medias and stuff, and is fair and honest and doesn't grift. Here's these folks. So it's just weird that there's so much emphasis on James Gunn destroying it. Like James Gunn under fire unveils new DC lineup with little fanfare.
He hasn't done anything yet.
Well, and also, no, people aren't going to be excited. I don't care who you get. Basically, there's going to be little excitement after disappointment after disappointment after disappointment.
Like
it's an uphill battle, and if he manages to kind of turn this fucking ship around, it's a miracle.
Right. Like that, there's good buzz around Blue Beetle. But he wasn't involved in putting that together. I guess when they brought him on, he may have been involved in some post-production stuff. But and when Blue Beetle comes out, look at these channels, take a brain shot of the greatest hits collection of awful people, and they are all going to go, well, Blue Beetle is woke, James Gunn is ruining DC. And the movie may make okay money. Like, I don't think it's going to be $1 billion movie, but I could see it doing, 300 mil.
Yeah, no more doomer posting, Jeffrey. We did this a while back, remember? And I told you not to fixate on these specific things. And if you start kind of feeling this way, that you can look up some other reasons to. I'm not saying that that you're wrong, that things are bad, but there are things that can balance it out if you kind of take in other information.
James
Gunn's DCU is a mess. That's interesting.
What
Nobody
DCU?
asked for this. Nobody asked for this. What? You know, like what?
Well, hold on. Can you go back? I played that little clippy at the beginning. You know, I thought those people weren't associated. I thought Zack Snyder didn't want to associate with them.
What do you mean?
Well, I believe that I see Geeks and Gamers there, and as we know, Zack Snyder is not affiliated with Geeks and Gamers. Just have to, you know, enjoy that. Well, I enjoy that. I hope you all enjoy that. Zack Snyder dunked on these people.
It's a highlight of all of this stuff. I mean, really, that was the moment when they were broken, I think.
They died. Yeah, they died inside. They simped for him. And I don't like using the word simp, but I have no better...
So, I mean, if you're wondering why they would be against James Gunn whenever, you know, Zack Snyder was against them, they've definitely built their narrative about the Zack Snyder thing, and you know, the general view, as Lyndon said whenever I debated him, and I didn't notice it in that conversation when it happened. I didn't notice it until like over a year later when I was editing some stuff from it. He says the reason that Zack Snyder did that is because Warner Brothers told him to. And it's like, oh, interesting. Warner Brothers told him to cry about his Asian daughters on stream as he talked about the hate that was being perpetuated against Asian Americans. That's interesting that Warner Brothers told him to do that. You know, and then Lyndon literally said, oh, they had other people do it too. And I said, oh, they had other people cry about Zack Snyder's Asian daughters?
You know? I had to take my glasses off to literally face palm.
It's...
Like, for those of you who don't know or need a refresher course, when Zack Snyder left the Justice League, it was because one of his kids punched their ticket early.
Right.
And so now they're trying to say that his defense of Asian kids was crocodile tears that the WB...
Well, he literally they have Asian adopted kids. So like,
right, yeah. So like they're literally like blaming his dead kids for some conspiracy theory, and I want nothing but bad things to happen to these people. May there always be crumbs in their bed, and may their coffee always be the wrong temperature.
I mean, just to kind of just one last time address this, and I appreciate. I know, like, I'm not saying that. So the thing that I'm seeing that you can kind of try and get out of this habit is just seeing everything as, oh, people are all good or people are all bad, or that there's no bad people getting what they deserve, because none of those are accurate. There are good people, there are bad people. Some bad people get what they deserve and some don't. The thing is that there's a lot of people right now who are not getting what they deserve because there's just a culture of shittiness, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. That's why we have to kind of just steel ourselves to it, and you know, you either need to kind of disconnect from it or be able to process it in a healthy way, because the other option is that you aren't able to kind of maintain, you know, and we're all going to have moments. We all do have moments. If you give a shit at all, you have a moment now and then where it's like, fuck, what's the point? This is brutal. You know, it's too much.
Had that moment literally earlier this week.
if that moment persists for, you know, I don't know, more than, I don't know, X amount of time to where it's affecting your life and stuff like that, then yeah, you need to change your habits on like what kind of information you're consuming and so on and so forth. But no, there's no, if you keep viewing it as all people are all good or all people are all bad, it's not really an accurate way to look at it. We care about you. We just want you to, you know, not be suffering, Jeffrey.
Yeah, we want you to be well.
So, you know, just nonstop stuff here. Instant regret, total disaster. You know, like the 3-minute video from this motherfucker who was literally quoted, and his videos were being watched by the guy that attacked Pelosi's husband.
Right.
You know, just this most cynical garbage, you know, garbage tier content. But I do have a video we could look at. Couple really. So I have the Hollywood Reporter one that we just passed here. It's a couple minutes long, and it kind of gives a little context, I guess.
Think a dog.
A dog? What kind of dog do you think it is, mate?
I'm gonna go with Afghan Hound.
Oh my god, is it a werewolf?
Yo, they shot me next to a werewolf! Yo, let me out!
As filmmaker James Gunn gets ready to release his new DC movie, The Suicide Squad, the director is opening up about his 2018 Marvel firing, his eventual rehiring a year later, and his feelings around cancel culture. Back in 2018, Gunn was fired as director of Guardians of the Galaxy
Oh, I thought this was more recent. So, but this is interesting anyway because this is before he was hired at DC.
Yep.
Volume 3 after a number of conservative personalities resurfaced old tweets in which the filmmaker made jokes about pedophilia and rape. In a new interview with the New York Times, Gunn revealed that it was Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige who ultimately delivered the news that he had been let go. Gunn recalled, "I called Kevin the morning it was going on and I said, 'Is this a big deal?' And he goes, 'I don't know.' That was a moment. I was like, 'You don't know.' I was surprised. Later he called me, he himself was in shock, and told me what the powers that be had decided." Gunn remembers feeling like his career was over. In a statement released the day of his firing, the director said that he understood the studio's decision and regretted posting the old tweets because, quote, "They don't reflect the person I am today or have been for some time."
Okay, so a couple things. He handled that fucking masterfully, by the way. He handled it the opposite way from how chuds do, which is, look, I'm being accountable for what I did. I'm not going to defend that. I've grown since then, but I definitely understand why this decision was made.
Right.
Wow. Imagine that.
Yep, I was a shitty person back then, and that bill came due.
That said, I fully believe that The Suicide Squad is not only a great movie, but it is kind of a personal statement from James Gunn.
Oh, for sure.
Because when you think about what that movie's about, I mean, like he kind of had to, he endured being a sheep. He clearly is not the same guy that would make those kinds of references or jokes or whatever. And like, and being myself, somebody who I've talked about a lot about my growth as a person and stuff, like it's, I don't know. It's just, it speaks a lot to me. And I think that's why it's an important movie, an important theme for movies to have when appropriate. Anyway, I do believe. Okay, so I said earlier that I bet they told him they'd have him back. I don't know that Disney did. I bet Kevin Feige said he'd work as hard as he could.
Yeah, and I think that Kevin Feige wasn't the only person going, "Come on, guys, this was stupid." Yeah.
Nonetheless, so back to more current in the timeline that we're on. So
cue the timey-wimey music.
The whole Snyder released the Snyder Cut thing, right? Which I was at the very beginning I was like, hell yeah. I even used the hashtag a couple times on Facebook or something. Then pretty quickly I noticed some patterns with the people that were posting that shit. And I quickly was like, okay, I'm going to just step back away from that. Now, that whole time I still wanted there to be a Snyder Cut or whatever released because, and Justice League, the Whedon cut sucks. And now let's address that really quick. Zack Snyder, as you mentioned earlier, his daughter took her own life. It's fucking tragic and terrible, and I can't even imagine. And so him and his wife, who is also his co-producer and works with him closely on all his projects, they understandably needed to step away. I think that was kind of, I don't want to say coincidentally or like conveniently or anything, but like it was somewhat timed with the realization by Warner Brothers that after Batman versus Superman, that he was already well into production on Justice League whenever that movie came out. And so the people rejecting the dark tone of Batman versus Superman, and then they're like, wait, but he's kind of doing that with this movie already. They fucking, did their knee-jerk reaction thing. And maybe it was justified in that sense. I don't know. But nonetheless, they wanted to change the direction. It was originally supposed to be 2 movies. They quickly decided it's going to be 1. And then eventually, they had already brought on Joss Whedon kind of secretly, I think, to work on the script and kind of retooling a few things. But then whenever Snyder's daughter passed away, they just said, you're going to be the director now. So think about how much of an admission of failure that kind of is, in the sense that when they started out, they clearly wanted to go the opposite direction from what Marvel was doing. And then by this point, they're like, let's just get the guy who did the Avengers.
So their knockoff Avengers movie was directed by the Avengers guy.
at that point, I think they had kind of accepted that they weren't going to be able to have their cake and eat it too, kind of thing. We're like, we just
Right.
need to make money. Like, who cares if people say it's a knockoff? We need to make the money.
And the movie did okay.
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at that in a second
Yeah,
too. But it definitely didn't do okay critically.
No, critically, it was it was Justice League.
It's a shit show, and it is, it's. I look. I'm not going to sit here and fucking cry for Joss Whedon of all people, but he did not have a good. He kind of had a shit plate handed to him in the first place.
Right.
You're given a movie that's like probably, I don't know, 70% done, filmed or whatever. The story is set in motion about what's supposed to happen, and then they're like, here, make this 2 hours, a clean 2 hours, so we can at least get as many showings out of it as possible, and then also make it fun and lighthearted, and make Superman fun, and make him inspirational and stuff. Holy shit! Like, I don't even know why he took that job, honestly. You read about this. What were you gonna say?
For a paycheck?
Oh yeah, but I mean, you read, like, you can, in the story of Marvel Studios, there's plenty of quotes from Whedon about what it was like making first the Avengers movie, which he kind of like it's like the excitement of making that one got him through the bullshit of it. But when it came to Age of Ultron, the excitement kind of had dissipated, and the bullshit became even more bullshitty from Disney and the higher ups and so on. So it just it was really clearly a painful fucking experience directing Avengers Age of Ultron. And it's just weird that he would have gone, okay, yeah, I'll do this, given the context, right? But I guess the paycheck must have been good. So he did not do very much good with it. It's got a lot of his worst impulses are on display. You got the Flash tripping and landing with his hands on Wonder Woman's boobs. That kind of thing.
Justice League is a product of executive meddling, right? Like, in the purest sense of the words, they gave Zack Snyder a list of things he had to do, and then they shuffled him off, or he shuffled himself off for, understandable reasons. And it's just like they bring Whedon on, and it's just a mess. But because it's, the executives making the decisions, they're not going to go like, okay, well, let's just start over. They're like, oh no, you have to finish this movie that you didn't write and you didn't direct, large swaths of it, and you just kind of have to stick it in the tube and make something come out.
Yep. Just do something that's presentable, at least on the surface, right? But like, it's a mess, man. Like, because at this point it had been filmed, I don't know, the original version was like 2 years old, filmed at that point, or more, and then you get in that intervening time, Ben Affleck had fallen off the wagon as an alcoholic. He had started drinking again. He definitely was not in the shape that he was originally.
Right.
He was more or less in the same shape as he was in Batman v Superman, which is fucking good shape. Like, he was fucking looking pretty good, I'll be honest. But then you watch Justice League 2017, and there's a very clear difference.
You can tell the difference,
scenes.
yeah.
Like, he probably lost 40 pounds of muscle mass.
Right.
And I'm not talking shit on the guy or his body or anything like that. I'm not doing that. It's just like, it's one of the many things that are noticeable. Aquaman characterization is almost entirely different when you watch the Snyder version versus that. It's like they definitely punched up his comedic elements a lot.
I don't remember which I saw first, because I waited till after both of them were out before I saw Aquaman or Justice League, and I was like two different characters.
And then what else? Even the Flash, who has some funny moments or at least attempted funny moments in the Snyder version, he was punched way up too with the comedy and whatnot. And it's just a mess, it really is. And like the Steppenwolf, holy shit, the design of him in the Whedon cut versus how he looked in the Snyder one,
It's
insane.
so bad.
So
so very bad.
And yeah, so where were we? Oh, Chuds. So Chuds be grifting, and the reason is because look, I've been a comics fan as far back as I can remember. I've always been a comics fan. Shout out to Ray Liotta, rest in peace. There's always been the false dichotomy of Marvel versus DC, which one's better and stuff like that. And like, I even fell into it for a long time in my younger years. And it's like, until eventually I was like, wait, when I read DC stuff, I enjoy it mostly, you know, like I don't tend to love it and connect with it in the same ways that I do with most Marvel stuff, but I don't fucking dislike it. And I think it's weird to kind of have to choose one or the other. And
Right. There's no reason to have to choose one. I think that, especially because like a lot of the writers go back and forth between the two, right? Like
they're like essentially both of them realize that without the other, neither would be where they are.
Right.
You know, and say what you will, and I'll say a lot about capitalism being shitty. Competition can breed good quality products, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what has happened to varying degrees over the years with these two, is just they're constantly trying to do better than the other. And often when one is doing poorly, the other's doing really well. And then, you know, anyway, so that's an element to this, is just that baseline, you know, kind of Marvel versus DC sentiment, right? But built on top of that is grift for various reasons. So there's the political grift of James Gunn, as we talked about, being, you know, anti-shitty people, anti-Trump. Right. And then so the shitty people like to bring up his, you know, past of like saying stupid, shitty things, despite the fact they still say stupid, shitty things and hang out with Nazis and shit, and get them fired. And so it's really just a cynical political thing in that regard. But then, and then, you know, kind of hand in hand with that, like we talk about on this channel, have for a few years now, are the grifters of, you know, and it's a grift of convenience. They don't give a shit about, you know, DC movies being good or bad or anything like that. They are, especially now, everything is anti-Disney from these motherfuckers. You can look at, and I have been, look at Critical Drinker's channel, and you know, you think a guy who's like fancies himself a real film critic, and people see him that way, that he would cover other things besides mostly Disney products. But, and granted, Disney has a lot of products, but there's other stuff, and he will most of the time shit on a Disney movie, or almost every time shit on Disney, unless he can frame something against a Disney movie. You know what I mean? And it becomes really clear when you really study his content and patterns and stuff like that. And he's not the only one. They all generally do the same thing.
I think it's interesting with their whole anti-Disney take, and that sort of crops up around, well, a few things, but I think most recently, and why they've been so fervent, is to get on the Ron DeSantis anti-trans horse shit. But what's interesting is when they go, well, like, oh yeah, you're siding with the strikers against Disney, and it's like, well, yeah, because we don't care about Disney, we care about the artists and the workers. All you care about is whatever makes you the most money in this instance, like that advances your weird obsessions.
Into that is inaccurate. I'm sorry to call you inaccurate. Super is a weird, interesting, mostly good movie. Antifa, he is not. Antifa doesn't bash people in the head for cutting in line, believe it or not. I don't know, maybe you watch the Fox News or something, but no, that's not who he was at all. He's a mentally disturbed, Christian influenced Rainn Wilson, and it's an interesting movie. It's definitely not my favorite James Gunn movie, but Antifa, he was not. Anyway, yeah, it's they're definitely doing it for that reason. The grift and the political maneuvering goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And, you know, as we said in our mission statement, the initiative, it's like, don't think that it's one or the other, because it's not. It's both. It is both. And if it was, they just are really fortunate that the political angle that they are for is also the more profitable one right now because of the algorithm. The only reason that their narratives get any traction is because of the way social media operates, period. These types of things would die off in their little echo chambers if it wasn't for the way that, content is boosted based on, engagement, which is
you look at what like Steven Crowder is making these days now that he's on whichever right-wing YouTube substitute he's using now that he's off of YouTube, and his reach is bottomed out because the algorithm abandoned him because he's demonetized. So
yeah. So that's what it is, and there is also a bit of a different element because there are people who are pro Zack Snyder who maybe politics isn't their main driver, but like they found community and they found success, and that's the thing that's going to keep them around for a long time. If it wasn't for the fact that HBO Max once again was desperate for content and desperate to make money during a year whenever they couldn't afford it. Nobody could really, but like they decided to not only drop everything on HBO Max, but they said, you know what, we can put this Snyder thing out now. I mean, that's the only reason that movie exists. It never would have come out. Nothing like that would have ever seen the light of day if it wasn't for the pandemic. And just period, because they could spend a little bit of money and not have to spend much on marketing and putting in all the other stuff that comes along with putting it in theaters. And it came out, and it, generally, here's my take on that movie. I like it. I think it is a very good Zack Snyder film. It seems like Rotten Tomatoes agrees with me, the critics aggregate, because it's his best reviewed movie.
Wow, really? I did not know that it was his best reviewed movie.
At about, I think, 72%. So
I haven't watched it because I don't want to spend 4 hours watching a superhero.
It is in chunks, so you could watch it in like a 4-episode kind of thing if you wanted to. But I don't know if you like the characters.
Yeah,
it's an interesting thing to say the least. Some of his worst instincts are not on display. Some of them are.
Right.
But I don't know. I like it. But that being said, even up whenever that movie came out, I still was like, hey, you know what? Even if I don't love his movies, I think Zack Snyder's a good dude. I do not think that anymore. Those of you who saw my video last year and me talking with Jarbo about it on his stream know why. I don't think we have time to get into it today, really, but the broad strokes are: it came out about a year ago. Rolling Stone had a report that during the release of the Snyder Cut thing, I had always disconnected Snyder from his fan base, right? I was like, it's not his fault that these people are so shitty.
Right, especially after, he denounced them on stream to their faces.
Right. But he was, okay, well, let's be clear, though. Not all of the Snyder cult, so to speak, are the same people as the Fandom Menace.
Right. It's a different...
There's an
overlap, but it's not all the same people.
There's distinctions going on there. I've looked enough into it to see that they're like, there are people who aren't against, diversity or whatever, and at least I don't see them posting about it.
Right.
But they're very much against whatever Marvel is doing and very in favor of bringing back. Okay, so let's get into why was James Gunn chosen, and why was Zack Snyder not chosen to continue, and why he will never be chosen to continue again, aside from the fact that he doesn't want to.
Right.
Okay? Like, you can look at, he just doesn't. Why would he go through that again?
I wouldn't, like, if, he's a big enough name, he can do his own thing, right?
And he's got Rebel Moon coming out. So, all right. Well, first of all, let's talk about the Mustache Gate.
Mustache Gate?
Mustache Gate. So,
this is them having to CG out what's his name's mustache. Henry Cavill's mustache.
Henry Cavill was in Mission Impossible, was Rogue Nation?
Something
Protocol?
like that.
Rogue
Not Ghost Protocol. I think it's Rogue Nation.
Very good movie. I enjoyed it. I generally enjoy all those movies for the most part. And then he had a mustache in the movie. And they had finished filming primary, primary filming was done. But
for Justice League.
Yeah, and for Mission Impossible. But they were going to have to do reshoots on Mission Impossible, I think. So, or he was on break from Mission Impossible shooting, one of the two.
Right.
Nonetheless,
like he came back to do reshoots for Justice League.
Warner Brothers asked and said, hey, he needs to shave his mustache to be Superman. And Paramount, in the biggest fucking unnecessary but also kind of cool troll that
it was incredibly petty.
It's
but I
much
love it.
easier to do a fake mustache. They could have easily made a fake
Right, they
mustache.
could have made a fake mustache.
But no, they said no. He's contractually obliged to keep that mustache until we're done with him. And they're like, oh, fuck. And they, did what they could, which apparently was not much as far as for the reshoots of Justice League. And so, not only that, the first scene in the movie where you're trying to establish for the first time, really, this Superman is a hopeful, inspirational to kids, kind of guy. And the scene could have worked, really, if it wasn't for the fact that it's just this uncanny valley between his nose and his upper lip.
You know what they should have done in a nod to
All Out. Thank you. Sorry.
The old Batman Adam West show. Do what they did with the Joker, because that actor wouldn't shave his mustache to play the Joker.
Yeah, just paint over it.
Just paint over it. And
that's
have it
essentially
be
what they
fucking
did.
obvious.
They did that. It's just a digital version.
Right. But no, I'm saying actually, just fucking paint over it. And yep, that's fucking right. We're doing this Adam West style, baby. And own it.
So here we got this is a scene from there. And it's just not right. You know what I mean? It's just off.
Yeah.
Especially when he talks. Nonetheless.
That's why I was saying just paint over it, because then his lips will move right at least. We'll all know it's there, but we all knew it was there anyways. So just own it.
So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I wouldn't feel good about myself if I didn't mention Mustache Gate.
We gotta mention the stash. Respect the stash.
So looking at where's it at? James Gunn, thenumbers.com. This is just numbers, okay?
Just numbers.
Not
so
opinion.
if Bandy McBanface, if you're watching from the Shadow Realm or the Phantom Zone, here's some numbers for you. I don't remember his name because I banned him.
Henry? Portrait of a Troll?
Yeah.
Instead of Portrait of a Serial Killer? I don't know.
Trying to decide what I would respect more.
Kidding. I don't think he was a troll. That's the thing. That's what sucks. Is I don't think he was trolling. I think that he just came across a channel that's saying things that isn't what normally he sees in his filter bubble.
Right. He saw Fire James Gunn, and so he thought he was going to get some more soup.
His literal first comment was WTF, because he literally wasn't. It's like, what? Well, this isn't. Huh? How can you even legally say these things on YouTube?
Because okay, so in the defense of chuds, they're not as sexy as we are, and so they have to rely on lowbrow deception to get an audience.
True. Okay, so James Gunn, total worldwide box office. Okay.
Okay.
And I will asterisk this because he is this is his executive producer, right? I'm sorry. Wait, let me make sure I got this right. I'm looking at the right thing here. Okay. Okay, I'm just looking at director because if I did executive producer, that's incredibly unfair because he's an executive producer on Infinity War and Endgame.
Right, I was gonna say he's There's a couple of Marvel movies he's an EP on.
And he did work on them, but I mean,
Yeah,
but
he
like just to act like that would be incredibly unfair. And you don't need to include those to make the
No,
case.
you do not.
So, top grossing director list, he is number 36 at the domestic box office.
Respectable. Very
respectable.
respectable.
$1,155,070,051 domestic. As executive producer, domestic, number 50. $1,537,188,482. As a producer, he's ranked in between, I guess, 2,243. Okay, that's not super low.
No. Chunk of change.
Or high. As screenwriter, number 42.
Wow, that is higher than I would have guessed.
Director international box office, number 49.
Wow.
Screenwriter, 52. Director worldwide box office, 43. Number 43.
So top 50 most in several categories.
Yes. Now let me go over here to old Zacky Snyder's.
So before we get the numbers, if chat wants to play a game with me, so is Zack Snyder going to be higher or lower on this list? Put 1 in chat for higher or 2 in chat for lower.
I think you probably all know where this is going.
Okay, well, I tried.
Okay, so director, top grossing directors, domestic box office, he's number 28.
Oh, wow.
With which is higher, I think.
That is higher, yeah.
With $1,319,613,325. Executive producer. We can't really do executive producer fairly because of, again, it wouldn't be really. And he's also produced some stuff he didn't really, actually put his hands on really, because he's a producer of all of the DC movies so far, I think.
Well, okay, let's. What's the number? I want to hear it because I want to make the case.
174 rank, and he is $715,979,286.
Okay. So if we're including the Avengers movies in that total, but like,
okay,
he had a huge role in how that movie came together because of the Guardians were kind of characters he shepherded into the MCU.
Well, he also worked literally with the Russo. He co-wrote
with Russo to direct those scenes, to make that happen and to make it feel consistent. So I feel like he earned the credit, right? He put in the work.
True. Okay, so let's do the executive producer comparison. All right.
Yeah.
So
I think Zack Snyder, he's listed as a producer on the other DC movies, and I think he probably was involved to some extent. And if they were that successful, I would want them counted too.
So, top grossing executive producers at the international box office, James Gunn is number 28 at $3,305,903,027.
Was this Zack Snyder or?
That was James Gunn.
Okay.
Number 28 with $3.3 billion. With a B. And then you go over here to Zack Snyder, top grossing executive producers at the international box office, rank 120.
So he's 100. He's almost 100 spots down.
Yeah. And his total is, let's just say, about a third of that.
Yeah.
So it's $1,340,000,000. Yeah. So it's about a third of James Gunn's. So if you're a fucking capitalist studio with shareholders and investors and all that fun bullshit who depend on you to maximize their money and make the most goddamn money you can, and then also you're at the tail end of just roundly, let's say rejected, kind of unfavorable series of films, and the guy has not. The one guy has kind of just been, whether it's all his fault or not, which it's not. It's not all Zack Snyder's fault.
No,
Okay?
I don't think it is.
But it partly is, and
Right.
and you want to move on. You want to start making money. What are you going to choose? If you call James Gunn, just got to, like, you know what? Let's shoot our shot. He's just got fired by Marvel. Let's fucking shoot our shot. Well, of course they called him about directing, not about anyway. But you ask him, hey, would you want this role along with this other guy who's also an experienced producer?
Mm-hmm.
And he says yes. What the fuck? Why would you ever get rid of him unless especially before he actually literally produces any content?
Right. There's not a thing that he hasn't done anything yet, right? This takes years to put together, right? Like, he's just started.
They're still fucking crapping out the residual stuff of the Snyder.
Right. We've still got 2 more movies. We've got an Aquaman and Blue Beetle.
Yep.
And like, especially with the strike, right? Like, even though they've announced in some of the principal casting for Superman Legacy, we're not gonna see that movie for, I mean, what, 2026 optimistically?
I don't know what's going on here, but I like this comment. So don't even tell me with the context. That's funny. I like it.
Jeffrey is on fire in chat.
All right. So that's that. Those are the numbers. All right. And now let's look at something a little bit more subjective.
Some tomatoes.
So let's look at we can look at some IMDb's too.
Oh, IMDb. I do like some IMDb.
All right. So let's look at, we'll do it the opposite way this time. We'll do it with Snyder first.
All right.
Look
so
at
in chat, put 1 if you think Snyder. Oh, you're just gonna bring it to the cheat mode. Okay, so we got the screenshot or the screen share.
Yeah. So there it is. His top reviewed movie, Zack Snyder's Justice League.
There it is, 72. Rebel Moon's not out yet, so
What I don't understand, Sean. I mean, I know you work in the industry. I don't know why you would say that, because like that's still not his thing either. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I feel like if they can right the ship at all after the Flash, that's where it's gonna, that's where it really is like, oh God, because I had a little tiny bit of hope that the Flash could do something to make it all worthwhile, and from what I understand, from what I've seen, what I've heard, not so much.
I guess my thought is at this point that, like, even though we all know that James Gunn, nothing he's worked on has come out yet, he's been right. He's in control now. And
but
so
that one's already in the pipe, wasn't it?
Right. It was already COVIDed out.
I mean, so he's not though, because like the whole shareholder aspect of this is like these movies have to come out, kind of thing, right? I said earlier, like if it was up to him completely, they probably wouldn't have put some of this stuff out. You know what I mean? Like, but
I think some executives and investors will look for someone to blame, and he's the guy at the wheel, even though that the last guy was, jumped off the boat and he's just trying to right the ship now. I think it's not fair, but I think he will get pinned for it.
True. Okay. Yeah, it's not fair is what I'm saying. All right.
Yeah,
fair enough.
It's not fair, but
by the way, Sean, you should come on the show on Wednesday sometime, man. For fuck's sake.
I don't know that he could have stopped it, but
I really don't know that he could have, man, because he's like, there are people above him that demand that certain things must happen. Anyway, so yeah, Zack Snyder's Justice League 72%. Now, granted, these are shit, man. You come on. Well, not this Wednesday because we're taking off this week, but next week, if you want to. And yes, it absolutely is. It is damaged.
True story.
It is. It's going to be tricky no matter what. I don't care if you got Steven Spielberg in there to fucking do this. It's going to be an uphill battle. Thank you, Jarbo. Sorry, I wasn't able to hook up with you, and we weren't able to make the timing work to get Jarbo on here. But he was the guy I was hoping to have as guest because he's been right in the thick of the shit through all of this nonsense.
Yeah, he has.
And then sometimes he throws himself in the thick of it just for fun.
True story.
He decides, I'm a little bored this week. I'm going to rile up the idiots a bit. And I can always tell because I'll see like his stream for the later that night listed, and I'm like, oh, Jarbo.
Oh, here we go.
He must be bored. He's good. Yeah, man. Let's try and work that out for sure. Anyway, so yeah, you look at that there, and it's not good, not great. Oh, gets worse.
Ooh.
Not good.
Oh God, I forgot about Sucker Punch.
It's all good, man. I could have tried to get with you last night, but I was just tired and shit, so it's all good. Because we were talking about recording or something if we couldn't at least have him live. Yeah. So yeah, wowzers. Not the best in terms of critical reception. We can look at the audience scores, but that's kind of, look, this is mostly meaningless because it's not like all of the critics are the same person.
Right.
The same people each time. It's not like all the critics have the best judgment. It's not like movies are objective things because they're not. But
I will note, like on a, if we're gonna notice trends, like he's kind of on an upswing, right? Like,
sure. Like Army of the Dead, he didn't use some of his worst instincts, but he started adding new ones. So there's this like weird, I forget what it's called or how to describe it. It's been so long, but like there's a camera thing he's doing in that movie that's really, really weird and off-putting. I just don't like it. But some of the stuff that he's done in previous movies that I thought was cringe, he didn't do.
Right.
So, we'll see how Rebel Moon is because maybe it's good. I don't even know what it's about, but
he was gonna do a Star Wars, and then he wasn't gonna do a Star Wars, and then Netflix said, "Why don't you file the serial numbers off and bring your Star Wars over to Netflix?"
And what's interesting is how much these people who just demand that Snyder come back to the DC universe, and it's like, you guys don't support Snyder because if you did, you'd be supporting what he's doing, not what you wish he was doing. You look at the comments the guys made. You look at the, for one thing, DC will never have him back, even if he wanted to, because of some of the shit that came out in that Rolling Stone article last year.
Stole a bunch of stuff from Warner.
He stole the fucking work print and took it home. He also, so if I remember correctly, the Godzilla versus Kong was coming out at the same time.
Yep. Picked a fight with that.
And he picked it. Well, he just, so his fans were going after that movie, and the director was it Wingard, I think. And Wingard, if I'm right about who that was, I might have the name wrong. Literally called Zack Snyder and was like, "Hey man, can you kind of get your people?" He's like, "Nope,
go fuck yourself."
Literally a guy who's got the same job as him under the same studio in the same genre generally. Like,
right?
Hey, help me out, man. Like this, nah, fuck you.
And how much, and like no effort, right? A tweet is zero effort. He could have been like, a sentence, right? Hey, Godzilla versus Kong, they're doing good work over there. Check it out, right? Support a fellow director, support a fellow movie maker, support the industry in a time of like, oh shit. Like, but no, he's got to be a petty little fucker about it. So
yeah, we saw those tomatoes there.
Yep.
Now
kind of stinky, some smelly tomatoes, some good ones, but some, a lot of stink.
So James Gunn,
Mr. Gunn. Oh, those are from some shiny tomatoes.
Guardians 3 is like one of his lowest, and that's at 82, which is still higher than Zack Snyder's.
Yeah, anything Snyder's done. And I don't understand why it's that low. I fucking love that movie to pieces.
No, the second one's at 85%. So yeah.
Well,
no accounting for taste, but still, like it's
the second one is one of a few things that made me cry before I was on HRT ever.
Wow.
Yeah. The funeral at the end, because it came out like a month after my grandfather's funeral. So I just fucking lost it.
So the one movie he has that's rotten is 49% was super. And that's, like I said, it's a weird one. it's definitely just a indie filmmaker not giving a fuck. This is a story I want to tell kind of movie.
Yeah.
And then Slither is awesome. If you like horror comedy, which I do, it's great. It's just fun.
It's some like peak body horror stuff too.
It's gross, but in a fun way. You got.
It is a very good movie that I will never watch again.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's an argument to be made that if all the right decisions were made and they were made before Marvel started doing what they were doing, that DC could have been the one. But there's just that ship is fucking long sailed.
Yeah, it's you know what they could do, and I don't even think it's the wrong decision. Why don't just, their animation has always been well regarded. Just stick to what you're good at. But I'm Monday morning quarterbacking again. So
well, I mean, at least Jeffrey's over here alternate reality quarterbacking. So
I see that.
But and then for some reason, like they don't even bother rating
Trauma
movies, I guess, reviewing them. So anyway, on those two, arguably the two metrics that matter most, especially the first one we looked at, when it comes to getting movies made, there's no argument. There's no argument to be made with Zack Snyder coming back, aside from the fact that he doesn't want to. The DC wouldn't have him if he did. That just like it's fantasy fucking land that these people exist in. The ones, because there are people who I think do really, they're not just grifting. The guys that we looked at, that we talk about, usually on this channel, they are grifters. They don't give a fuck. They don't, broadly, maybe somewhat, but like generally they don't give a shit. They're grifting. But there are people who we don't really talk about on this channel, but Jarbo talks about, who they seem to really believe it, I guess, but maybe they're grifting too. I'm not sure.
I Hanlon's razor, right? Assume incompetence before malice. I think his movies are good enough to attract a following. And that's kind of all it takes for a fandom to grow up around it, right? And he's become a controversial figure. So those people can kind of become entrenched and emboldened.
Dude, that would be such a fucking
cool.
baller move. God damn.
That would be.
Anyway, sorry. Speaking of alternate reality casting or fan casting, because somebody said earlier, and I had a comment saved about it. The casting for that Snyder and his company and stuff did generally pretty great.
Very good. Yeah.
They all looked the parts. And if they didn't, like in Affleck's case, he got to where he did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess maybe they could have gone a different way with Gal Gadot for somebody who can maybe act a little bit better.
I think she's probably the weak link for me.
And if you're casting Barry Allen, it's weird that they went with more of a like the characterization of Barry in these movies is more like Wally West.
Yeah.
But still, the performance, I hate to say it, is pretty good for
it's
what
fine.
they were going. Snyder's always been good with casting. So anyway, I got the direct article here, and this is part of the problem. So this is from December 8th of last year. Headline: Unhappy DC fans reject studio plan. Unite to get Fire James Gunn trending. That is not an accurate description, I would say. They are not unhappy DC fans. They are kind of deranged, terminally online Zack Snyder. Not even, like I said, I don't even believe they really love Zack Snyder as much as they love the sense of having power that comes along with organizing under the Zack Snyder umbrella.
They are content agitators.
Oh, we got another one. That's fine. Controller Kimbo, you can disagree. I don't know that what you said negates anything that we are talking about.
Well, really again, it's not a firing. It's his contract is up.
Right. They decided not to continue using him, which, studios do that, man. Like I put on your big boy pants and look at the history of film, and you'll see that this is the kind of thing that happens.
Well, I think that there's a segment of the internet has lopped onto this. Oh, they're firing them when, like, if an actor is shitty at the end of their contract, well then, bye. Like, if you're not smart enough to go like, hey, I'm at the end of my contract, Gina Carano in this instance is.
Well, I don't think Henry did anything.
No, I don't think he did either. Though I've heard some things about him to the cast of The Witcher, but I don't know enough about that. I guess he was kind of shitty on there, according to some people. So I don't know the specifics.
No, it's this just like this kind of comment. This is this weird kind of parasocial.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm standing up for his honor, like he deserves. Like, this is the business, man. That's the business.
Yeah, it's.
You know, they recast Batman how many times? James Bond, like, this is the fucking business, and it's weird to just glom on to this one guy who, you know.
Well, okay,
and look, I do think it is a travesty, in the sense that this is all entertainment and not really a big deal compared to things that actually matter in the world. But it is a quote unquote travesty that Henry Cavill did not get the fucking chance to be the Superman that I believe he could have been, except for basically at the end of Justice League.
Like at the end of Justice League or the end of Black Adam, right? Like we get.
I guess I didn't see that.
Yeah,
but yeah, he got about 10 minutes time total of being the Superman that he really should have been the whole time. Yeah, you're just I get it. Your feelings are hurt, man. Your feelings are hurt, but that's not worthy of firing James Gunn. Okay?
Right. Well, and yeah, like keep in mind, like when that end credit scene is shot and the CGI is finished is well before the movie comes out and well before they know what his contract situation is. So like,
and it's well before they had brought on James Gunn.
Probably.
I mean, at least to some degree, these things are moving.
It was before if he started in January, it was before that because that movie came out end of last year.
Let me put it this way. There is nothing, not a single thing that indicates that Henry Cavill could make them money as Superman. Anytime that he's appeared has been, post essentially Justice League the couple of times or whatever, is because they are appeasing fans. That's it. Because there is nothing on record that says Henry Cavill's a moneymaker as Superman. And that, at the end of the day, is all that matters to these studios. I'm sorry if I'm just kind of introducing capitalism to you right now, but like that is it.
It's capitalism 101 day. Yeah, like it. Unfortunately, he's a talented actor that sometimes talented actors make bad movies. I mean, Ben Affleck made Daredevil. I don't think Ben Affleck's a bad actor. I think he got a raw deal.
Not that great in that. He also has gotten way better at acting since then.
True.
But yeah, so he's also a fantastic director. Holy shit. I was really excited when that brief period when he was supposed to be directing what eventually became the Batman.
Right.
When he was going to direct and write it and star in it. Holy shit. I was hyped for that. Anyway, so this headline should be, the Snyder, if I'm going to not be disparaging, the Snyder fans who, are known for their toxicity or whatever, like, or at least that would mention that in the article. It doesn't, or something like that. But like to frame it as unhappy DC fans or whatever, like, I don't know. I don't care if you don't really appreciate it. That's just because that's the only explanation for this. There's no logic to it, man. And I get my feelings hurt. Everybody gets their feelings hurt. I'm sorry. Just deal with them. Just don't deal with them in my chat. That'll be the last time I tell you.
Like I get being upset about the deal he got, but he was tied to Zack Snyder's version of these characters, and that well is poisoned. And
let me ask this question: why do you think that Henry Cavill deserves special treatment in Hollywood compared to essentially everybody else?
The mustache he had in Mission Impossible.
Oh, fair enough. Fair argument. I retract my this because that's what essentially you're asking for. That is what you're wanting, is for Henry Cavill of all people to be treated in such a way that like he's given privileges and considerations beyond making money, beyond anything except what a small, very loud and toxic minority of fans, I did some air quotes there, want. It's absurd. It's delusional. We're going to look at some of the delusion right now, because in the comments of this article, holy shit, man. Well, first of all, let's look at some tweets from when this came out. Steppenwolf was right.
Snyder.
DCU will fall. Like, to act like that the DCU was a success prior to this. Holy shit. What? This is BS. They better not reboot. Zaslav, fire James Gunn. We want the Snyderverse. Bring back Zack Snyder. Fire James Gunn. Okay, these two shape the DC. I don't know.
Let's just keep going.
Yeah. He was the wrong person to do a Suicide Squad movie, despite the fact that it's critically, everybody loved it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the Suicide Squad, please check it out.
Well, we can look at that too, because
and then come back here and tell me that he can't do this job. Please watch it. In 2 hours, come back to me. I've got a little pop quiz and everything. It'd be super fun.
And by the way, for anybody that thinks that telling me that you're fans of us, I appreciate that, or that I do, or that you're gonna unsubscribe or something, that's gonna make us change what we're saying. I don't think you're really actually fans of the channel if you think that.
So do you know there's an old. I saw an interview with Rush Limbaugh a million years ago.
Sorry.
And he yeah, right. But there was a very fascinating insight to when callers would call in, and to get past screening, they would say they were a fan of his, and then they would get on the air and they would go, "Hey, I'm a longtime fan, but," and then they would go on to disagree with him. And this sort of, "I'm a big fan of you guys, but," sounds a lot like that.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's trying to leverage, as if, I know some YouTubers probably do hang on to every single, oh no, we can't lose a subscriber. I don't. Dude, if I was worried about people, my opinions lining up with what most people wanted, I would not, I don't know. I wouldn't. There's a reason, that I'm
okay to be upset with how things turned out, but
even the audience score.
You gotta move on.
Even the audience score, which, and a lot, like we said, a lot of the people that are involved in the Zack Snyder fan cultish thing are the same people who have successfully bombed audience scores of many movies. They couldn't get it lower than 82%. Because that's how good it is. That's how many people like it.
It's a very good movie. And I think there are people who are restore the Snyderverse people who aren't fire James Gunn people.
Probably.
There's a lot of people who love Zack Snyder's movies that rated that movie well. Because it's a good fucking movie. And if you're not concerned about this weird blame shifting thing, then you don't need to pick a side. The side can just be yeah, whatever, man. A good movie's a good movie.
So, and it's just this delusional kind of, and I hate to keep using that word, I shouldn't. It's just this lack of understanding of what filmmaking is. In an ideal world, story would be everything. It would be first. It would be primary thing. But we don't live in that world. We live under capitalism. Therefore, money, profit is what matters. So these people are like, all I want to see is Zach's full story. You're not gonna. And that's, to some degree, I wish that I could see it. But we're not gonna.
Right. We don't live in that universe.
Gunn is going to destroy this franchise to the core. Today's news is just making a huge negative impact on, how do you look at what had come before this and think that there's anything left to destroy?
So let's pull up the DCEU Rotten Tomatoes ratings overall.
Okay.
I wanna see those numbers for the whole kit and caboodle.
I don't know if it's going to be easy to
Here, I found it on it's there's a chart that's got it from Wikipedia.
Oh.
I can throw that in the private chat and
okay. Actually, I did have something. Let me pull. I had some kind of meme type situation going on that I.
Who doesn't love a meme? God, Barbie has hit over $300 million worldwide. Holy shit.
Wowzers.
I guess it's Barbie's world and we're just living in it.
Haha. I watched the Todd in the Shadows about the Barbie girl song.
Oh, jeez.
You ever watch Todd in the Shadows?
No, I'm familiar with it, but I have never watched it.
Well, I don't know what I did with it. God damn it.
All right.
All right. So, well, go into this chart that you sent. Man of Steel.
To the critical. One more chart. There we go. Here's all our Rotten Tomatoes, Cinema Score. Lots of numbers.
So, Man of Steel, Cinema Score A-. Rotten Tomatoes 56%. Metacritic 55. Batman v Superman. Oh, going down. She's going down, Captain. 29% Rotten Tomatoes. Then Suicide Squad 26%. Wonder Woman, and I remember that being a moment of like, okay, maybe they can fucking they can do it. They can do it. You know, they hit a couple of bad moments, but at the same time, the ending, like the final battle of Wonder Woman, is garbage.
Yeah, it's
just
that movie starts really strong and then doesn't.
It's mostly the actual superhero stuff about it that sucks. Everything else, the war stuff and like the, you know, kind of her fish out of water stuff, that's all fine.
It's all fine, yeah.
So then Justice League. Then Aquaman. Which, you know, is kind of dumb fun movie. It's fine.
Aquaman's a good time.
Shazam is probably, let me look.
Shazam's really
and
good.
Birds of Prey are my two favorites before the Suicide Squad came out, rather.
Yeah.
Birds of Prey is pretty good. I enjoyed it. Shazam is actually really good. It's
really good.
Essentially, it's not breaking the mold. It's not reinventing the wheel as far as superhero origins. And to me, the fact that they can make a movie that enjoyable, despite it being more or less your standard origin story,
it's very wholesome in its everything, right? It wears itself on its sleeve in just a kind of refreshing way, especially for the DC movies that had kind of been like, oh, we're going to edgy and gritty this up. And it's like, how do you edgy gritty up fucking Shazam? Like,
you have him like do like Big, where he like has sex when he's Shazam or something, and like, you know, make it real. I don't know.
They make fun of that in the movie.
Yeah.
Like he tries to hit on the lady, and she's like, "You're just a kid, aren't you?" Just like, this is not working.
You know, and then you do Wonder Woman 84 when you have the hero rape a dude.
Yeah.
And do I need to pull open my meme that I made? I'm gonna do it.
Hit it.
You're like, another one of Dane's memes.
I just need to wash Wonder Woman from my brain. Need to memory hold 1984. That's a 1984 joke for those of you who don't get it.
Memory hole 1984.
I try really hard, guys. Appreciate me.
Where the hell is my meme? Damn it.
Zack Snyder stole it. That's
go.
Like, because apparently we just like simp. said it. I'm dying
When
over
I
here.
realized that, I was like, "Oh my god, I can't even believe it." Did chat die?
I still see chat.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I see is that one guy's comment.
Yeah, that's all I see in StreamYard, but I still see chat going on the chat.
Okay. Oh wait, so there's more comments on YouTube?
Yeah, there's more comments on YouTube.
Okay, so it does that sometimes on StreamYard. Fucking chat just dies. Yeah, pulled open that one, so I'm not ignoring all you fine folks.
I can't chat with chat from StreamYard, but I can chat with chat from chat. Try saying that 5 times fast.
Pop out chat there.
Now you can see all the beautiful people in chat.
The beautiful people, the beautiful people. I mean, I'm acting like you're cultists, man, because you are at this point. Like, whenever you are, you're group thinking, you're ignoring reality, you're ignoring objective evidence and metrics of of things that are like anybody can find this information. When you're believing things that just there's no rational reason to believe that Zack Snyder would come back, that DC could have him back, that he's worth bringing back. There's no reason to believe that James Gunn deserves to be fired. There's like just all of these things that are stacked up against reality and any kind of objective analysis. It's just I know you're in like an algorithm filter bubble or whatever, and you just step outside of it, man.
Like like I said before, it's fine to be a Snyder fan, but this whole thing is taken to a level and pushed by people who don't really care about the...
Yeah, you are group thinking because you don't understand what I'm saying, man. I mean, for one thing, you just showed up probably a few minutes ago, so you missed everything else that we talked about. We just looked at the critical scores of the Zack Snyder era. We looked at the box office of Zack Snyder's of the DCU versus James Gunn's, as well as critical score. There's no argument to be had, man. There's no argument. You're not, I'm sorry it's really demeaning to you, dude. Like, and you're not a viewer. You're not one of my regular viewers, because if you are, this is not the first time I've talked about this. You would not be surprised by it. You are, maybe you were subscribed or something. You had to have been for at least a week, but I'm not.
If you don't think you're that sort of fan, then odds are you aren't that sort of person. If that's the case, if you're not involved in all of these weird things that we're talking about today, then we're not talking about you.
Right. Yeah. If we're not talking about you, we're not talking about you, because
now if you are all about the fire James Gunn hashtag and the bring back Zack Snyder stuff, then we are talking about you, and you should be upset. God damn it.
Yeah. I mean, and you may think it's demeaning when really I'm saying step outside of this shit and like get I don't want to say get help, but like get help, man. Like,
touch grass.
If you're operating on these things from these points of view as if there's any validity to them whatsoever, you're not engaging with reality, and that concerns me. I like when people are
are a little more grounded. And like we don't think that James Gunn is going to wave the Tromo wand and fix WB. Right. But
Controller Akimbo, I like Zack Snyder's iteration of Justice League. So process that information however you need to, but I like it. I've said it many times. I've defended it.
He has. We've argued over it.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the behavior and the fucking disconnected from reality beliefs of people who irrationally think that it's even remotely possible for him to come back. Stick to Turf Nations.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you don't have to like me. This isn't my day job. I don't
care. You announced yourself. You're gone now. You're gone.
Have a good night.
Airport. Announced your departure.
Vanished to the Phantom Zone. I'm gonna miss that guy.
Yeah. And I don't want to. The reason I'm engaging with him at all is because I want to just make it clear, I guess, because I don't want to deal with this shit. And if every fucking time this topic comes up, or any topic, I want everybody to understand where I come from on this stuff. And you can like it or not like it, but I don't give a fuck if you're going to try and guilt me for fucking thinking it.
Well, and
For
guilt
engaging
you
with
for
reality.
putting. I mean, he put words in our mouths, right? He didn't engage with what we were saying. He was arguing against someone else and saying we were saying it. It's like, well, no.
And
we're talking about this group of people doing these behaviors. That's
and you start
the
to see the
context of the
commonality
conversation.
with Phantom Menace chuds, because what do the Phantom Menace do? They go, "Oh, you're just a Disney shill." Nope.
No.
You know, I'm not. Fuck Disney as a company. You know, I am a fan of Marvel, and I am someone who is honest about what I think about things that I see. Right. So you want to ascribe certain positions to me that I don't hold and have said nothing that remotely like that, then you are bad faith, and you're not here for good reasons. And the same thing with, oh, it's bad. It's just crazy to like the Justice League movie from. Nope, because I like it. So fuck off with your bad faith, words and mouth bullshit. It's not welcome here. And I genuinely really get upset when people fucking put words in my mouth. So.
And if he's still listening and thinks that calling out Snyder cultists is calling him out, well, you know, hit dogs holler. So.
All right, hit dogs holler. Anyway, so you know, Wonder Woman raped a guy. That's not good.
Not good. Don't do that.
Just
also, don't write that movie. Who writes that? Who goes, I'm gonna make the just like, no, don't. What was funny is she was gonna be doing Rogue Squadron, and then Wonder Woman 84 came out, and Kathleen Kennedy was like, no, the fuck you aren't.
Yeah.
Nope. Bye.
Oh wait. So another thing that we haven't even mentioned that James Gunn did.
Oh.
Peacemaker.
I have not actually watched Peacemaker yet.
Oh, you should. You totally should. You really should. It's so good.
Here's what happened is I went to watch Peacemaker, and I started Doom Patrol first.
Oh.
If you have not seen Doom Patrol.
Well, hold on. With a caveat being that they're not going to get to finish the show, apparently.
They're not going to get to finish the show.
Which is fucking upsetting. I hate when that happens.
Fuck you, HBO Max or
if
or
you
Max
want
or whatever it's
a
called.
really offbeat, unique, kind of just like bizarre but charming, found family weirdo, you know, finding value in your weirdness and your quote unquote flaws. Doom Patrol. It's great.
Like, and you know, especially like as someone going through a transition when I was watching that, like that show just punched me in all the right ways, and I fucking loved it.
If you want a show where they fight zombie butts, you know, then
that is the show for you.
You are entitled to not like Peacemaker, but 94% of critics on Rotten Tomatoes think it's good. So there's that. And just to add to the bit overflowing pile of good things that James Gunn has done, and the reasons why, to bring it full circle, until he puts something out that is just so egregious that signals like, oh no, he's not going to write the ship. Until that, they're not going to #fire James Gunn.
No. Ain't gonna happen.
That's fair. I mean, Sean, I would highlight these comments if I could, but I literally can't right now. My chat and
and that's
broken.
Well, one thing I would like to reiterate, because we've had to drop the hammer today a couple of times. It is okay to not like something. We're gonna do a whole episode in August 20th, a whole episode about disagreeing with each other on things.
Well, the first one in August is your episode, right?
No, my episode's gonna be the 20th.
Okay, right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the episode, in August, Morgan gets a forced adversity.
Right.
The things that Morgan is against, what I believe, irrationally and just insanely against. It's going to be like a courtroom drama in here. Right. I'm fucking, putting them on the stand, and I'm going to, do the you can't handle the Star Trek Picard episode. That's awesome. It's going to be fun. And then in October,
it's going to be a good time.
To celebrate, one of the things we're going to do to kind of celebrate a year of this podcast, even though you guys haven't been listening for a year, we've been doing it for a year in October.
We've been in pre-production.
Yeah. I'm going to get an episode where the things that I am against, that's, so by the way, I'll start closer to the time. I'll start asking people for their takes on what they think I am against irrationally or without cause, without due course. You can say them now, but don't expect me to remember them at this point because I'm not writing them down or anything. But at a certain point, I will be asking audience for
what you could do is you could hop on the old Twitter, hop on Elon Musk's fireboat and tweet at Forced Adversity. I think that's the podcast handle, right?
No, it is actually as Forced Adversity. Yes.
Yeah. So if you at that at Forced Adversity for you can leave one for Dane or I that you think were wrong, and we'll address that on those special episodes.
See, but that doesn't apply, Jarbo. The Last Jedi, I am pro The Last Jedi, where this is forced to things you're against.
Right. Yeah.
Otherwise, I could bring you on here and fucking hold your feet to the fire again. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm sure people would love to see more of that. But
so you know what my problem with talking about The Last Jedi is? Instead of talking about it, I could go watch it again.
True. I've enjoyed talking to Jarbo and then talking to a couple other people that I've talked about it with that don't like it. I get more where it comes from.
Yeah.
Even though I think that it is inconsistent in most cases. Some of it's just preference, like Jarbo stuff, and he'll even acknowledge that he did in that debate we had or whatever, where it's like, it's just what I think. It's like, that's all valid, man. I've never been somebody who's like, if you don't like it, you're fucking wrong. It's just I try my best to understand when somebody is against things that I like, and there's many times that I've been like, oh, I see where I kind of agree, and then that will stick in my mind, not about The Last Jedi, but other things, and it'll stick in my mind, and it'll kind of decrease my appreciation of a thing just because I know they're right, on some level, or I agree with it, or it's maybe see things in a way I hadn't considered before. But with The Last Jedi, broadly, by and large, whenever I hear a specific thing, I'm like, okay, but then what about in this other movie where they do something very similar, exactly the same? The other Star Wars movie that this kind of thing happens and nobody cared. That's where I tend to come from with it. But
all right. Well, we're going on 3 hours, and I know you got places to be.
I didn't mean to go on that long.
Sometimes it be that way, though.
Well, let me get the thing ready that I was going to have for the end, because
the thing.
Totally worth it.
To the magic word.
Oh, yeah. Shit. Do that. And I meant to do this at the beginning, too.
Sounds like we got a real problem out here. Any of you incel, QAnon, 4chan, Snyder Cut motherfuckers want to get on a line now? Anybody? I think so.
Actually, should have done that. It's 2 specific times during the stream. And then, then this one. Here's the thing.
All right. We're good now.
Okay. And also...
won't somebody please?
It doesn't apply this time for once.
I was going to say, this is the first time in a while we haven't had to think of the children.
And I also meant to use this one for any trolls.
You poor man.
Shout out to those in the Phantom Zone.
And I almost used this one, but I restrained myself.
You should have died at birth.
It's a little bit harsh.
A little harsh.
And then, yeah. That's what I was looking for. Got it. Yeah.
All right. Well,
so what are you doing? What do you got going on? You got anything you want to promote, or?
I'm just doing my things, If you're into tabletop role-playing games, the Pathfinder Rage of Elements comes out in a couple of weeks. That looks really fun.
We need to find you something if you wanted to and had time and stuff, like some kind of gaming thing you can do on the channel sometime or something.
Yeah, maybe if there's patrons interested and you want to get some people from Patreon, I could probably run like a monthly pickup game of some sort. But other than that, yeah, I work. I work a lot.
Let's see.
Yeah, I'm the non-interesting person amongst the crew. I just I show up for Sundays and then I return back to the shadows.
Well, I'll have to go. Your name was mentioned by one of my detractors who, yeah.
Where did I want to see this now? I want to.
No, you don't. You really don't. It's one of these people that they're definitely trying to get our attention, my attention, and any attention, and they are fucking bad faith is like all get out. They're just kind of dumb as well.
Okay.
And they're like, it was just mentioned as like you and Morgan, blah 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 blah, and it was about the we stole that content that time, right?
Oh my God, we stole the thing he sent to someone, right? Like,
the thing that was sent to our friend, which was not in intellectual property, just a list of questions that were then given to us with permission to discuss on stream. We stole that content. Anyway, so yeah, on the way out the door here, we're gonna learn how Batman chose his voice in at least in the Nolan trilogy.
See you next time for I think we're talking about the we're gonna keep on the comics movie thing. We're gonna talk about the MCU.
Are we?
I think that's on the old schedule.
Okay, yeah, it's a big episode, I think, because
we're gonna do a two-parter.
Yeah, probably gonna be two-parter. We're gonna do people against the MCU, and that means and this is gonna be kind of weird because I'll save it, but
we'll save it. Yeah, it's gonna be
takes that I have.
Chuds and non-chuds are forcing some adversity on this one, so we'll talk about it in the next couple of weeks. You are totally late, Chandler. I'm so sorry.
You almost couldn't be possibly more late, but the stream will be up for a little while before. Oh, and this is a thing I learned yesterday. There are these people, the bad faith people. They they were calling me a liar, and I was like, "What about? Please tell me what I've lied about." And they were like, "Well, nobody." Instead of telling me anything specific, they go, "Nobody who's honest takes down streams."
What?
And I was like, oh wait, so you think that I'm taking down streams because I'm hiding something that I said? That's interesting. I never considered that. And I don't take streams down. I private them. For a long time they were made channel members only, and now I don't have channel members, but I do have patrons, and they get access to streams if they want it. And then also there are times when, because here's the thing, I'm not going to do it, but here's the thing. Some people like watching live streams, and some people don't have the time or don't like them.
Right.
So when there's a piece of content within a live stream that I think this makes a good segment or whatever, and or if I notice that, because there's another thing you don't know as a YouTuber, maybe if you're not a YouTuber, streams can tank your fucking stats big time. Because if you, like, my channel was built on videos, like video essays and shorter videos, and it measures how long people stay on that video, and that matters to the algorithm. So if people are clicking off of the video pretty quickly, that's not good. And then if you get a 2-3 hour stream, that even if somebody watches an hour of it and then they fucking click off of it, that's not good overall. So these are reasons that people, not just me, lots of people, private or otherwise unlist or whatever, streams after a while, because all of these reasons. So the fact that you jump right to you're being dishonest, you're just a bad faith moron. And if you can't literally list a thing that I've said that's a lie or whatever, then fuck you.
Right. Well, they cannot.
No.
So
let's see how Batman shows his voice. Please like and subscribe. And no initiative stream this week. I might do a stream anyway Wednesday, but yeah, don't expect a regular initiative stream.
Like, subscribe, Patreon, all the things. Do them all.
All those things. Have a good one.
Come on, man, I got kids to feed.
Oh, I don't like falafel?
Actually, that's not a bad idea. Thank you, that solves most of my problems.
Where were the other drugs going?
I never knew. Wait, what?
I said, where are the other drugs going?
Why are you talking like that?
It's a bad voice. It's a bad.
Really kind of goes against the whole dark Batman thing.
Are you kidding me? I worked on that like all day. I was like bat, sonar, high, squeaky.
It's not scary. It's silly.
I ran this by people I know, and they loved it.
It's bad.
Bad. Wow. This is embarrassing. Can I please show you another one?
Sure.
Where were the other drugs going? Fuck face.
Malkovich?
Yeah. He's scary. He's like, I'm better. I'm stronger. I'm Batman.
No, it's totally wrong.
Where were the other drugs going, huh? How's this kid?
Why Pacino?
Maybe I am Al Pacino. You don't know. What's he do at night, huh? Fight crime.
Not a Batman.
Hello, Governor. Where were the drugs going?
You're representing Gotham. I wouldn't go British.
Hey, how you doing? Where were the other drugs going, huh?
It's not good.
Hey! Where were the drugs going? Where were the other drugs going? Where were the other drugs going? Yeah. ¿Dónde están los drogas? Where were the other drugs going? The silly, silly drugs. Where are they? Answer me, Herbertus! Where were the drugs? Supposed to be Dustin Hoffman. Where were the other drugs going? Huh? Do I look like a copy, you know?
All right.
Yeah, fine. Where were the other drugs going?
Oh, wait. What was that?
What?
Do that again.
Where were the other drugs going?
You know what? That's not bad.
I just lost my voice.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Can I just say again?
Yeah, no, I swear to God.
Swear to me!